Hey there, storytellers and story lovers. This is Cross Naruto. Prepare yourselves for today's incredible narrative. What if Naruto was the primordial void god, the chaos entity before Erebus? Naruto x Nix x Hemera. A quick reminder, your likes, comments, and subscriptions are the fuel that keeps this channel running. Thank you for being awesome. Let's begin this journey together. Chapter 1, Awakening Beyond the Veil. The sky above Konoha cracked. Not metaphorically, it literally split open like glass, revealing absolute nothingness behind it. Naruto Uzumaki stood frozen in Ichiraku's doorway, ramen forgotten in his hand as everyone around him continued eating, talking, living their normal lives. Nobody else saw the fracture in reality stretching across the afternoon sky. You seeing this too, kid? Tsuchi asked, wiping his hands on his apron. Naruto's head snapped toward the ramen chef. Wait, you can see that? Hard to miss. Tsuchi pointed his ladle at the sky. Never seen anything like it in all my years. The crack sealed itself, reality knitting back together as if nothing had happened. Naruto blinked rapidly, wondering if he'd imagined it. That was weird, he muttered, scratching his head. Tsuchi shrugged. Shinobi business, probably. Above my pay grade. Naruto nodded absently, but something felt off. This wasn't chakra. This was something else entirely, something that made the Nine Tails stir uneasily within him. 3 similar incidents happened over the next week. Reality would briefly warp, objects would fade in and out of existence, and gravity occasionally reversed itself in small pockets around the village. Only Naruto seemed to notice every occurrence. Others caught glimpses sometimes, but to most of Konoha, life continued normally. Naruto stood atop the Hokage monument, staring out over the village as the sun began to set. His shadow stretched long behind him, but for a moment, just a moment, it seemed to reach impossibly far, extending beyond the village walls. Kurama, what's happening to me? He asked internally. The Ninetails' voice rumbled through his consciousness. I don't know, kid. But whatever it is, it's older than me. Older than you. You've been around since the Sage of Six Paths created us tailed beasts, yes. But this feels like it predates everything. Naruto was about to press further when movement caught his eye. A figure stood at the edge of the forest surrounding Konoha, tall, unnaturally still, watching him. As soon as he focused on it, the figure vanished, leaving behind a brief shimmer in the air. Sleep didn't come easily that night. Naruto tossed and turned, his dreams filled with endless darkness punctuated by pinpricks of light that grew into stars, planets, galaxies. He floated through it all, simultaneously everywhere and nowhere. He woke gasping, sweat-soaked sheets tangled around him. The clock read 3:14 a.m. Outside his window, the moon shone impossibly bright, casting shadows so dark they seemed to swallow light. Creator. The voice came from the corner of his room. Naruto leapt to his feet, kunai in hand, scanning the darkness. Creator, you have awakened. The voice had no clear source, it seemed to emanate from the shadows themselves. Who's there? Show yourself. Naruto demanded, channeling chakra in preparation for a fight. The darkness in the corner thickened, condensing into a vaguely humanoid shape. It had no features, just a silhouette darker than the surrounding night. We have searched for you across eons, Creator. The void hungers for your return. Naruto backed toward the window. I'm not who you think I am. I'm Naruto Uzumaki, shinobi of Konoha. The shadow thing made a sound like rustling leaves. Names are meaningless. Forms are temporary. You are the before, the nothing that preceded everything. It lunged forward with impossible speed. Naruto dodged, but the shadow split into tendrils that pursued him across the room. One brushed his arm, the coldest cold he'd ever felt, like his very atoms were freezing. Kurama. Naruto called internally, drawing on the Ninetails chakra. Orange energy flared around him, but the shadow tendrils slipped through it like it wasn't there. Your borrowed power cannot save you from what you truly are, the shadow hissed. Something ancient stirred in the back of Naruto's mind, knowledge he shouldn't have, power he'd never known. Acting on instinct, he reached out his hand and spoke a word he didn't recognize. Nu Epsilon Nu Tau. The shadow creature froze, tendrils quivering in what looked like fear. You remember the old tongue. You truly are returning. Naruto felt something flow through him, not chakra but something deeper, older. He gestured sharply, and reality around the shadow seemed to fold inward. The creature screamed, a sound like space tearing, as it compressed into nothingness and disappeared. Naruto stared at his hand in shock. What the hell was that? Kid, Kurama's voice was uncharacteristically subdued. What did you just do? That wasn't my chakra. That wasn't any chakra. I don't know. It just happened. Dawn broke over Konoha to find Naruto still awake, sitting cross-legged on his bed. The bizarre events of the night felt dreamlike, but the scorched circle on his floor where the shadow had disappeared proved it had been real. A knock at his door startled him. Sakura's voice came from outside. Naruto. Lady Tsunade wants to see you. Something weird's happening at the village gates. Be right there. He quickly dressed and splashed water on his face. As he reached for the doorknob, he caught his reflection in the mirror and froze. For just an instant, his eyes weren't blue, they were absolute black, with pinpricks of light like distant stars. He blinked, and they were normal again. At the village gates, chaos reigned. A crowd had gathered to watch as shinobi attempted to deal with a bizarre phenomenon, a perfectly circular area about 20 feet across where everything had turned grayscale. People who stepped into it moved in slow motion, their voices deep and distorted. What is this? Naruto asked, joining Tsunade at the perimeter. The Hokage shook her head, blonde pigtails swinging. No idea. It appeared an hour ago. Isn't genjutsu, isn't ninjutsu we know of. Kakashi's Sharingan can't analyze it. Naruto stared at the anomaly, feeling a strange pull toward it. Inside the circle, leaves fell at 1/10 normal speed, people moved like they were underwater, and sound stretched into unrecognizable tones. Has anyone gotten hurt? He asked. No, but no one can move at normal speed in there. Those who've gone in have eventually walked out, but they report it feeling like hours passed for them. Naruto stepped closer, ignoring Tsunade's warning hand on his shoulder. The edge of the circle pulsed slightly as he approached. Somehow, he knew what this was, a time dilation field, a fracture in the fabric of reality where temporal laws had weakened. Again, that knowledge he shouldn't have possessed bubbled to the surface of his mind. I can fix this, he said, surprising himself. Naruto, wait, Tsunade began, but he was already reaching toward the barrier. As his fingers touched the edge of the anomaly, the world around him changed. Colors shifted, sounds muted, and he felt an awareness expand within him. The problem was obvious now, a simple tear in the space-time continuum, leaking temporal energy. He reached out with that strange power he'd used against the shadow and simply pushed the edges of reality back together. Like pinching closed a hole in fabric, he sealed the anomaly with a gesture. The grayscale circle collapsed inward, normal color and time rushing back to fill the space. The shinobi inside stumbled forward as time normalized around them, looking confused but unharmed. Dead silence fell over the crowd. Tsunade stared at him, amber eyes wide. Naruto, what did you just do? He looked at his hands, feeling the strange power receding. I don't know exactly. I just knew I could fix it. How? I don't know. The frustration in his voice was evident. Weird stuff's been happening all week. I've been seeing cracks in the sky, things moving wrong, and last night some shadow thing attacked me in my apartment calling me creator. Tsunade's expression shifted from shock to concern. My office. Now. As they walked, Naruto felt eyes on him, not just from the villagers, but from elsewhere. He glanced up to see a raven perched on a rooftop, watching him with unusual intensity. When their eyes met, the bird spread wings that seemed to contain galaxies within their feathers, and flew away. In the Hokage's office, Naruto explained everything, the anomalies only he could see, the shadow creature, the strange power he'd used. Tsunade listened without interrupting, her frown deepening. "And Kurama has no explanation?" she finally asked. "He says whatever's happening predates even him." Tsunade sighed, pinching the bridge of her nose. "I'll have the archives searched for any similar occurrences." In the meantime, the window behind her desk shattered inward. Naruto tackled Tsunade out of her chair as 3 more shadow creatures poured into the room like liquid darkness. "Creator," they hissed in unison. "The void hungers. Return to us. Not these guys again." Naruto growled, creating shadow clones that leapt to engage the intruders. The clones passed straight through the shadows, dispelling on impact with the wall. Tsunade's punch connected with one, sending it splattering against the ceiling like ink, but it reformed immediately. "Physical attacks don't work," Naruto called. "Let me try something." He summoned that strange power again, but this time the shadows were ready. One lunged directly at him, wrapping around his arm. The cold was excruciating, but worse was the flood of memories that came with it, endless darkness. Solitude spanning beyond time. Then, a thought. The first thought. His thought. Let there be. And there was. Naruto screamed, the sound tearing from his throat as knowledge too vast for a human mind crashed through him. The shadow creature convulsed, drinking in his confusion. "Yes, remember," it whispered. "Remember what you were before this flesh prison." A kunai sliced through the shadow, momentarily disrupting its form. Kakashi stood in the doorway, Sharingan exposed. "Whatever these things are, they're not from our world," he said, voice tight. The shadows regrouped, forming a single larger mass. "The Pantheon has kept you bound long enough, Creator. We will free you from this mortal shell." It surged forward, and hit an invisible barrier. Black flames erupted around the edge of the barrier, burning with intensity that made even Naruto step back. A woman materialized between Naruto and the shadow mass. Tall, with skin like midnight and hair that seemed to contain the night sky itself, she held the barrier with one outstretched hand. Her eyes, when she glanced back at Naruto, were pure silver. "Void Eaters," she said, voice like velvet darkness. "Always so dramatic." With a gesture, she compressed the shadows into a sphere no bigger than a marble, then crushed it between her fingers. Black dust scattered across the floor, each particle igniting like a tiny supernova before disappearing. The woman turned fully to Naruto, ignoring the stunned Tsunade and Kakashi. Her flowing black dress seemed to be made of living shadow, stars occasionally twinkling in its depths. "Naruto Uzumaki," she said, studying him with those silver eyes. "Or should I call you by your true name, Chaos?" Naruto stared at her, recognition flickering at the edges of his consciousness. "Who are you?" A smile curved her lips. "I am Nyx, goddess of night. And you, despite this mortal form, are much, much more than a shinobi." More shinobi rushed into the office, weapons drawn. Nyx barely spared them a glance. "Your world stands at the precipice of unraveling because you are awakening," she continued. "The Void Eaters are just the beginning. Worse will come, hunting the power they sense in you." "I don't understand," Naruto said, though part of him did, the part that had known how to close the time anomaly, the part that had recognized the old tongue. "You will," Nyx replied. "But not here. There isn't time." Kakashi stepped forward. "He's not going anywhere with you." Nyx turned her silver gaze on him. "Brave mortal. But you cannot stop what has begun. The void awakens within him. Either he learns to control it, or it will tear this reality apart." More reality fractures appeared across the office, the ceiling momentarily vanishing to reveal infinite space, the floor becoming transparent to show an endless drop, the walls bleeding colors that shouldn't exist. This is your influence, Nyx told Naruto. Unconscious, uncontrolled. Your awakening power bleeds into your surroundings. Naruto looked to Tsunade, who stood with kunai ready but uncertainty in her eyes. What should I do? Before she could answer, alarms blared throughout the village. A massive shadow descended over Konoha, a hole in reality that was spreading, consuming buildings at its edge. The void hungers, Nyx said softly. And it has found you. Naruto ran to the window. The hole hovered over the village like a black sun, tendrils reaching down to touch rooftops, which disintegrated upon contact. People fled through the streets, panic spreading faster than the destruction. I have to stop it, Naruto said, the words coming from somewhere deeper than thought. You cannot fight what you are, Nyx replied. But you can command it. Without waiting for permission, Naruto leapt from the window, using chakra to propel himself toward the center of the village. He landed on a rooftop facing the void hole, which seemed to pulse in recognition. Whatever you are, he shouted at it, leave these people alone. The void rippled, tendrils pausing in their destruction. A voice boomed from within it, so deep it vibrated the ground beneath his feet. Creator. Return to US. Unmake what was made. Naruto formed a Rasengan, knowing it would be useless but needing to try anyway. I protect this village. I protect my precious people. They are dust. Temporary configurations of energy. You are eternal. The void expanded suddenly, swallowing another block of buildings. Screams echoed from below as people fled. Rage built in Naruto's chest, not just at the destruction, but at the dismissal of human life. I said, stop, he roared, and the word carried that other power with it. The void froze, tendrils suspended in mid-reach. Nyx appeared beside him, her presence bringing a calm to the chaos. Now you begin to remember. Command it. It is yours to control. Naruto reached deep within himself, past Kurama, past his own consciousness, to something vast and ancient that had always been there, sleeping. He touched it gently, afraid of what might happen if he embraced it fully. Words came to him, a language older than human speech. He spoke softly, each syllable burning the air around his lips. Epsilon pi iota sigma tau rho psi tau epsilon sigma tau omicron kappa epsilon nu. Upsilon pi alpha kappa omicron sigma tau epsilon tau omicron nu delta eta mu iota omicron upsilon rho gamma sigma alpha. The void hole began to shrink, folding inward like cloth being tucked away. The tendrils retracted, leaving behind restored buildings and streets where they had begun to disintegrate. Within moments, it had compressed to a single point that winked out of existence with a soft pop. Naruto swayed on his feet, suddenly exhausted. Nyx caught his arm, her touch cool but not unpleasant. What did I just do? He asked, voice hoarse. What did I say? Return to the void. Obey your creator, she translated. The old tongue comes back to you naturally. It was the first language, your language. I don't understand any of this, Naruto said, pulling away from her. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. I was born in Konoha. I contain the nine-tailed fox. I'm going to be Hokage someday. That's who I am. Nyx studied him with those silver eyes. Yes, you are Naruto Uzumaki. But before that, long before, you were something else. Something that existed before time itself began. Shinobi surrounded them, led by Kakashi and Tsunade. The villagers below were returning cautiously to the streets, looking up at the sky where the void had been. The danger has passed for now, Nyx told them. But it will return, stronger each time, until he either embraces his true nature or is consumed by it. And what exactly is his true nature? Tsunade demanded. Nyx's gaze never left Naruto. Before the gods, before creation, before light and dark, there was the void. And the void had consciousness. It had will. It was the first entity, the primordial chaos from which all else sprang. Her voice softened. You, in your original form, created everything, including me. Naruto shook his head. That's impossible. Is it? How did you know how to close the time anomaly? How did you know the words of the old tongue? How could you command the void itself? He had no answer. The memories will continue to return, Nyx continued. And with them, power that this world cannot contain. You must come with me, learn to control it before you accidentally unmake everything you care about. Tsunade stepped forward. He's a shinobi of Konoha. He doesn't go anywhere without my approval. Nyx inclined her head respectfully. I understand your concern, Lady Hokage. But the stakes extend far beyond your village, your world, even your dimension. What awakens in him could end all existence if not properly channeled. Why now? Naruto asked. Why is this happening now? Because someone is deliberately triggering your awakening, Nyx replied. The Pantheon has noticed. Some welcome your return. Others. She hesitated. Others fear what it might mean for the cosmic balance. The Void Eaters serve those who wish to use your power for destruction. Another tremor shook the village, buildings wavering like mirages. In the distance, a mountain briefly turned transparent, revealing stars behind it. You see. Nyx gestured at the unstable reality. Your presence destabilizes this realm as you awaken. The longer you remain, the worse it will become. Naruto looked around at his home, at the people he'd sworn to protect. If what she said was true, and the evidence was becoming hard to deny, then staying would put everyone in danger. Can I come back? He asked quietly. Once you've learned control, yes, Nyx answered. This form, this life, they're part of you now, regardless of what you once were. Naruto turned to Tsunade. I need to go with her. If I'm causing these problems, I need to learn how to stop them. The Hokage's expression was torn between concern and resignation. This is beyond anything we've faced, even Kaguya. She sighed. How long? Nyx considered. Time flows differently in the divine realms. But I will ensure he returns as soon as possible. Wait, Naruto said suddenly. I can't just disappear. People will worry, and the village still needs protection. He formed a hand sign, creating a shadow clone that stood beside him. This clone has enough chakra to last for weeks. It can stand in for me while I'm gone. The clone nodded. I'll keep everyone safe, believe it. Tsunade reluctantly agreed. Fine. But I expect regular updates, and if anything happens to him, she fixed Nyx with a steely glare, there isn't a realm in existence where I won't find you. Nyx's lips curved in amusement. Your loyalty is admirable. I give you my word as the night herself that no harm will come to him by my hand. As the group descended to street level, villagers approached cautiously, whispering among themselves. They'd seen Naruto seemingly command the void that threatened their homes. The looks they gave him now were different, some afraid, some awed, all uncertain. It hurt more than he expected. They'll understand when you return, Nyx said softly, noticing his expression. Saying goodbye to his friends was harder. Sakura hugged him fiercely, making him promise to return safely. Shikamaru studied Nyx with suspicious eyes but trusted Naruto's judgment. Hinata looked worried but gave him a brave smile that nearly broke his heart. I'll be back before you know it, he told them with more confidence than he felt. Just gotta learn to control some weird new power, that's all. When the goodbyes were finished, Nyx led him to the edge of the village, away from curious eyes. The journey between realms can be disorienting the first time, she warned. Stay close to me. She waved her hand, and darkness pooled at their feet, rising up like smoke to surround them. It wasn't threatening like the Void Eaters, this darkness felt warm, protective, like a blanket on a cold night. Is this your power? Naruto asked as the darkness enveloped them, Konoha disappearing from view. Yes. Night is my domain, the space between stars, the shadows that give definition to light. The darkness solidified around them, then shattered like glass. Naruto gasped as they stood suddenly in a realm unlike anything he'd ever seen. They stood on what appeared to be a path made of starlight, winding through absolute darkness. In the distance, enormous structures floated in the void, palaces, temples, cities, all built of materials that seemed to shift and change as he looked at them. Some glowed with internal light, others absorbed light around them, and still others seemed to exist in multiple places simultaneously. The sky, if it could be called that, was filled with celestial bodies that moved in patterns too complex to track. Constellations rearranged themselves constantly, forming symbols and glyphs that tugged at Naruto's memory. "Welcome to the Night Realm," Nick said, watching his reaction with something like pride. "My domain." "It's beautiful," Naruto managed, unable to fully process the scale and majesty of what he was seeing. "It is a reflection of the cosmos itself," she replied. "Here, the boundaries between dimensions are thin, allowing glimpses of many realities at once." As they walked along the starlight path, Naruto noticed figures moving in the distance, some humanoid, others decidedly not. Some appeared to be made of pure energy, others of solid darkness, still others of materials he couldn't begin to describe. "Other gods?" he asked. "Some gods, some primordial entities, some simply aspects of cosmic forces given form," Nyx explained. "Most keep to themselves, but news of your awakening will spread quickly." "Will they be afraid of me?" Nyx glanced at him. "Some will. Others will seek to use you. A few might genuinely wish to help. You created many of them, knowingly or unknowingly, when you first shaped the void into creation. The concept was too vast to grasp fully." Naruto tried to imagine being the consciousness that preceded all existence and failed. It was like trying to fit an ocean into a teacup. "If I was this all-powerful creator thing, how did I end up as a kid in Konoha?" "That," Nick said, "is the great mystery. Some believe you chose to incarnate as a mortal to experience your own creation from within. Others think you were trapped or diminished by rival powers. I suspect the truth is more complex than either theory." They approached a structure that grew more magnificent as they drew near, a palace carved from what looked like solidified night, with towers that pierced the cosmos and foundations that seemed to extend infinitely downward. Starlight glimmered from within, spilling from windows and archways. "My home," Nick said. "And your sanctuary while you learn to reclaim your powers safely." As they reached the entrance, massive doors of dark matter inlaid with constellations, the doors swung open of their own accord. Inside, the palace defied conventional architecture. Rooms connected in ways that shouldn't be possible, with corridors that looped back on themselves and staircases that led simultaneously up and down. The main hall stretched before them, lined with columns that resembled galaxies frozen in mid-rotation. At its center stood a fountain that flowed with liquid starlight, cascading upward instead of down. Servants materialized from the shadows, humanoid figures with skin that contained swirling nebulae. They bowed deeply to Nyx, then even more deeply to Naruto, murmuring in the old tongue. "They recognize what stirs within you," Nyx explained. "Many of the oldest entities in this realm remember your original form, even if you do not." One of the servants approached, offering a goblet filled with shimmering liquid. "Refreshment for the creator," it said in a voice like distant wind. Naruto hesitated, looking to Nyx. "It's quite safe," she assured him. "Ambrosia, divine sustenance. It may help stabilize your awakening energy." He accepted the goblet and cautiously sipped. The liquid tasted like nothing and everything at once, sweet, savory, bitter, spicy, all flavors simultaneously that somehow worked in perfect harmony. Energy surged through him, not like chakra but deeper, more fundamental. For a moment, the world around him shifted, and he saw beyond the physical. Nyx appeared as a vast, star-filled entity that extended throughout the cosmos. The palace revealed itself as a nexus of cosmic energy points. Even his own body seemed different, a temporary vessel containing something infinitely larger. The vision faded, leaving him gasping. Whoa! Your perception expands, Nyx observed. Good. That will help with your training. Training for what, exactly? To contain and direct your awakening power. To remember who and what you truly are without losing who you have become. She led him deeper into the palace, through chambers that contained star nurseries, black holes suspended in perfect equilibrium, and cosmic phenomena Naruto had no names for. Each room seemed bigger on the inside than should have been possible. They finally reached what appeared to be a library, though calling it that felt inadequate. Books floated in mid-air, some opening themselves to display three-dimensional images that moved and shifted. Scrolls unraveled along the ceiling, text glowing in various colors. Knowledge literally hung in the air, dense enough to touch. This is the archive of ages, Nyx said. Here, the history of creation is recorded, including your part in it. Naruto approached one of the floating books. As he neared, it opened, pages flipping rapidly before settling on an image that made him freeze. It was him, not as he was now, but something both more and less than human. A being of pure energy with a form that continuously shifted between states of matter. Around this being, reality itself took shape, stretching out from its fingertips like clay being molded. The first shaping, Nyx said softly. When consciousness arose in the void and began to create. That's, me. What you were. What you may become again, in part. Another book floated toward them, opening to show a cosmic war, beings of incredible power clashing across newborn galaxies. At the center, the energy being that was apparently Naruto divided into multiple aspects, each containing a portion of the whole. The sundering, Nyx explained. When you divided yourself to create the first pantheon. Why would I do that? Some say loneliness. Others believe it was to create balance and prevent stagnation. The records are unclear. A third book approached, but before it could open, a disturbance rippled through the archive. Books trembled on their shelves, scrolls rolled themselves shut, and the air grew heavy with tension. We have a visitor, Nyx said, her tone carefully neutral. Light flooded the chamber, not the gentle starlight that illuminated the palace, but harsh, brilliant daylight that made Naruto squint. In its center, a figure materialized. She resembled Nyx in height and bearing, but where the night goddess was midnight and shadow, this woman was golden radiance. Her skin glowed like polished bronze, her hair a cascade of sunbeams. Her eyes, fixed on Naruto with intense curiosity, were the blue of a perfect summer sky. Mother, she said to Nyx, her voice like distant bells. I see the rumors are true. Hemera, Nyx replied with a slight inclination of her head. Daughter of day. You enter my realm unannounced. When the Creator returns, protocol becomes somewhat irrelevant, don't you think? Hemera approached Naruto, studying him with unabashed interest. So this is the form you chose. Fascinating. Naruto felt strangely exposed under her bright gaze. I'm still trying to wrap my head around all this. Hemera laughed, a sound like sunlight on water. Of course you are. Compressed into human form, millennia of memories locked away, it's a wonder you function at all. Why are you here, Hemera? Nyx asked, a protective edge to her voice. The same reason you brought him here, mother. To help. She circled Naruto, her light casting no shadows in the night realm. The Pantheon is in chaos. Kronos calls for containment. Thanatos sees opportunity. Others simply watch and wait. And you? What do you seek from his return? Hemera stopped her circling, facing Naruto directly. Balance. Your awakening shifts fundamental forces, Creator. Day and night, light and dark, all cosmic dualities strain under the pressure of your emergence. I didn't ask for this, Naruto said, frustration building. I was just living my life, protecting my village, and that's precisely what makes you unique now, Hemera interrupted, her expression softening. You're not just the primordial void reborn. You're the void that has known humanity. Something about her words resonated with Naruto. Is that important? More than you can imagine, she replied. The original consciousness that shaped creation had power beyond measure but lacked context. It created because it could, not because it understood why creation mattered. She gestured to him, her movement leaving trails of light in the air. But you've lived, loved, suffered, celebrated. You understand the value of existence from within it. That perspective changes everything. Nick stepped closer. My daughter speaks truth, though I question her timing. Your humanity is not a limitation, it is the lens through which your divine power might finally achieve perfect focus. A tremor ran through the palace, books tumbling from invisible shelves. Outside, the cosmos itself seemed to shudder. The Void Eaters grow bolder, Nick said grimly. They sense your presence here. They followed us? Naruto asked. Not exactly, Hemera explained. They exist partially beyond conventional spacetime. Once they found you in the mortal realm, they can track your essence across dimensions. Then I've led them straight here. They would have found this place eventually, Nyx assured him. Better to face them here, where reality is more flexible. The tremors intensified. Through the walls of the palace, Naruto sensed vast shapes moving in the darkness, not physical entities but disturbances in reality itself, holes where existence should be. What exactly are these Void Eaters? He asked. Fragments of precreation, Hemera said. When you first shaped the void, not all of it accepted form. Some portions remain stubbornly chaotic, resentful of order and structure. They feed on structured reality, Nyx continued. Consuming it to return it to primal chaos. They were manageable while you existed as a balancing force, but in your absence, they've grown powerful. Another tremor, stronger than before. Books flew across the archive, pages fluttering. The starlight dimmed as something massive eclipsed the cosmos outside. They're here, Hemera whispered. The wall of the archive dissolved, revealing the void beyond. What had been beautiful star-filled darkness was now absolute nothingness, not black, not empty, but the absence of existence itself. Within it moved shapes that hurt to look at, non-forms that twisted perception. Creator, came that same voice Naruto had heard in Konoha, now infinitely larger. Return to US. Become again what you were. Nyx raised her hands, darkness flowing from her fingertips to form a barrier between them and the encroaching void. Hemera added her power, light interweaving with shadow to strengthen the protection. They want to consume you, Hemera explained quickly. Absorb your awakening essence before you fully integrate it. If they succeed, they'll have enough power to unmake creation. How do we stop them? Naruto asked, watching the barrier strain against the pressure of nothingness. We don't, Nyx said. You do. But I don't know how to use these powers. You do, Hemera insisted. The knowledge is within you. Trust yourself. The barrier cracked, void seeping through like water through a damaged dam. Where it touched the archive, books and scrolls simply ceased to exist, leaving nothing behind, not even empty space. Naruto felt panic rise, not just for himself, but for everything. If these things could erase existence itself. Deep within him, something answered his fear. Not Kurama, who had gone strangely silent since they entered the night realm, but that older presence, the one that had helped him close the time anomaly in Konoha. He closed his eyes, reaching for it. The chaos of the moment fell away. In the darkness behind his eyelids, he saw, truly saw, for the first time. The universe as a single organism. Reality as a thought-given form. Time as a dimension to be traversed rather than experienced linearly. And at the center of it all, a spark that had always been inside him, the original will to create. Naruto opened his eyes, which now blazed with starlight. He stepped forward, passing through the barrier as if it weren't there. What are you doing? Nyx called after him. Remembering, Naruto answered, his voice overlaid with something older. He stood at the edge of existence, facing the Void Eaters directly. They swarmed toward him, hungry for his essence, eager to reclaim the consciousness that had escaped the primal chaos. Naruto raised his hands, not in defense but in recognition. I remember you, he said to the Void. You are the unformed, the potential that chose to remain free of structure. The Void paused in its advance, undulating uncertainly. I shaped the cosmos from chaos, but I did not force all chaos to take shape, Naruto continued, knowledge flowing through him from somewhere beyond memory. Your existence is part of the balance, the counterweight to creation. Then return, the Void demanded. Be one with us again. No, Naruto said firmly. I am both now, creator and created. The Void and the form. I will not abandon either part of myself. He reached out, not physically but with his consciousness, touching the essence of the Void Eaters. They recoiled, then surged forward again, determined to consume him. Naruto didn't fight them. Instead, he opened himself to their nature while maintaining his own identity. A negotiation between states of being, conducted in a language beyond words. From behind him, he felt Nyx and Hemera watching in astonishment as he neither destroyed the Void Eaters nor surrendered to them, but established a boundary, a covenant between order and chaos. This far, he told them, drawing a line in reality itself, and no further. Exist as you are, but respect what has been made. For a moment, the Void trembled with rage, pushing against his decree. Then, gradually, it receded, pulling back from the night realm like a tide returning to sea. Naruto turned back to the goddesses, feeling the power that had surged through him settle into a more manageable current. They'll be back, he said, knowing it with certainty. But they'll keep their distance for now. Hemera's light had dimmed slightly in awe. You didn't destroy them. They're part of me too, Naruto explained, surprising himself with the insight. Destroying them would be like cutting off a limb. Nyx approached cautiously. You remembered more than I expected. Not everything, Naruto admitted. Just enough to know what they are, what I am in relation to them. This changes our approach, Hemera said thoughtfully. You're integrating your divine nature more quickly than anticipated. Is that good? It's unprecedented, Nyx replied. Normally, awakening takes centuries, with power returning in fragments. You've reclaimed fundamental understanding in hours. Maybe because I need it, Naruto suggested. My friends back in Konoha are in danger if I can't control this. Hemera exchanged a look with Nyx. He thinks like a human. Is that a problem? Naruto asked defensively. No, Nyx said with a small smile. It's an advantage. Divine beings tend to think in cosmic scales, overlooking immediate concerns. Your human perspective keeps you grounded in the present. The archive rematerialized around them, books and scrolls returning from wherever they had disappeared to. The palace stabilized, tremors subsiding as the Void Eaters retreated. What now? Naruto asked. Now, Hemera said, her brightness returning, we help you remember the rest, safely, controlled, without risking reality in the process. And we prepare for the Pantheon's response, Nyx added more soberly. You've announced your presence to the cosmos. Others will come seeking audience, some as friends, many as potential enemies. Great, Naruto muttered. God politics. Just what I needed. Hemera laughed, the sound brightening the archive. You see. That's exactly the perspective we've been missing for eons. Over the next few days, though time flowed strangely in the night realm, Naruto began a crash course in cosmic awareness. Nyx guided him through the archive, showing him records of creation, the birth of stars, the formation of dimensions, and his role in shaping it all. Hemera, who came and went between her day realm and her mother's domain, taught him about duality and balance, how light defined darkness and vice versa, how his original consciousness had established the fundamental laws that made existence stable. Gradually, Naruto began to remember, not as continuous narrative but in flashes of insight. He recalled the first moment awareness had stirred in the primordial void. The exhilaration of the first creative act. The wonder of watching galaxies bloom from nothingness. But these memories remained abstract, like dreams partially remembered upon waking. His human life, his struggles, friendships, loves, and losses in Konoha, those memories remained sharper, more immediate, more real to him. "It's like I'm two different people," he explained to Nyx as they stood on a balcony overlooking the cosmic ocean. "I can access these God memories, but they don't feel like mine, exactly. They happened to someone else." "In a sense, they did," she replied. "The consciousness you were and the person you are now share continuity but not complete identity. You've been shaped by human experience in ways the primordial void never was. Will I have to choose between them? Become fully divine and lose my humanity?" Nyx considered the question carefully. The Pantheon would say yes. They believe in separation, gods apart from mortals, divine essence distinct from mundane matter. "But you don't agree. I've watched you these past days," she said. "The way you combine cosmic awareness with human compassion. How your shinobi training applies to manipulating reality itself. You're becoming something new, neither fully the creator of old nor merely the human Naruto." A messenger interrupted them, one of Nyx's servants, moving like a shadow across the balcony. "My lady," it whispered urgently. "The Council of Primordials demands audience. They have sensed the Creator's energy signature." Nyx's expression tightened. "Tell them, I'll meet them," Naruto interrupted. Both Nyx and the messenger stared at him in surprise. "If they're coming about me, I should face them directly," he explained. "I'm not going to hide while others speak for me. That's not who I am." Nyx studied him for a moment, then nodded. "As you wish. But be cautious, the primordials are ancient and set in their ways. Some may see your human form as an affront to cosmic hierarchy. Then they'll just have to deal with it," Naruto said with a grin that reminded her very much of the shinobi and very little of the abstract creator force. The council arrived in a procession that defied physics, each deity manifesting in a way that best represented their essence. Kronos, god of time, existed simultaneously as an ancient man and a newborn child. Gaia appeared as a woman formed of living earth and root systems. Uranus was a living sky, his body containing weather patterns and atmospheric layers. They assembled in Nyx's great hall, arranging themselves in positions that reflected cosmic hierarchies invisible to mortal perception. At their center stood Kronos, clearly their spokesperson, his double image shifting between age and youth with each tick of the celestial clock that orbited his head. "Nyx," he acknowledged with a voice that echoed through past and future simultaneously. "We come seeking the disturbance in the primal order." Before Nyx could respond, Naruto stepped forward. "That would be me." The assembled primordials rippled with shock, some literally changing form in surprise. All eyes fixed on him, seeing beyond his human appearance to the awakening void essence within. "Impossible," breathed Gaia, flowers blooming and withering across her earthy skin. "The Creator takes mortal form?" "Not just any mortal," said another deity Naruto didn't recognize, whose body seemed composed of flowing knowledge. "A shinobi from the hidden world. The nine-tailed Jinchuriki." Kronos stepped closer, studying Naruto with eyes that saw all timelines simultaneously. "You claim to be the first consciousness? The void that gained awareness?" "I'm not claiming anything," Naruto replied evenly. "I'm still figuring this out myself. But yeah, apparently I was something else before I was Naruto Uzumaki. Something that created, well, everything." Murmurs ran through the assembly. Some deities leaned away, others forward in fascination. "Prove it," challenged Kronos. "If you are truly the creator, demonstrate power that only the first consciousness would possess." Naruto looked to Nyx, who gave a subtle nod of encouragement. I don't have to prove anything to you, Naruto said, feeling both his human stubbornness and something older rising within him. But I will show you what I've remembered. He extended his hand, palm up, and concentrated. Above it, reality folded inward, creating a miniature void that didn't consume existence but held it in perfect suspension, matter and energy balanced on the edge of being and non-being. It was the most fundamental act of creation, the point where nothingness contemplates becoming something. Only the original consciousness could manipulate reality at such a basic level. The void in his palm pulsed once, then expanded into a miniature universe, stars forming, galaxies spiraling, life evolving, all in accelerated time. The council watched in stunned silence as Naruto created, sustained, and then gently dissolved an entire cosmos in the span of minutes. Satisfied, he asked Kronos, whose time-shifting form had frozen in shock. It is him, Gaia whispered. After all this time. Kronos recovered his composure. You have demonstrated the power, yes. But that makes your choice of vessel all the more concerning. Why incarnate as a human? Why now? What is your purpose in returning to the cosmic stage? I didn't exactly plan this, Naruto admitted. I was just living my life when these powers started awakening. I'm still trying to understand why and how. The why is obvious, came a new voice. All heads turned as Hemera entered the hall, daylight streaming around her form. The Creator incarnated to learn what cannot be known from outside creation, the value of existence from within. Speculation, Kronos dismissed. And irrelevant to the crisis at hand. The cosmic balance strains with each passing moment. Reality fractures appear throughout the dimensions. The Void Eaters grow bolder. We must act. What do you propose? Nyx asked, her tone carrying warning. Kronos gestured to Naruto. The consciousness must be extracted from the human form and returned to its proper place in the cosmic hierarchy. The power is too vast, too dangerous to remain compressed in mortal flesh. And what happens to Naruto if you do that? Hemera challenged. The human shell would not survive the extraction, Kronos admitted without emotion. But one mortal life is insignificant compared to the stability of all existence. Naruto felt cold anger rise within him, both human indignation and divine displeasure. That's not happening. You do not have a choice, Kronos replied. The council has authority in matters of cosmic preservation. You think you have authority over me? Naruto laughed, the sound carrying more power than he intended, making the palace tremble slightly. I created the concept of authority. I created you. The assembled deities shifted nervously. Even Kronos took a step back at the sudden surge of primal energy emanating from the seemingly human figure. Nyx moved to Naruto's side. What he means to say is that extraction is unnecessary. He is learning to control the power. The recent confrontation with the Void Eaters proves this. A temporary solution at best, Kronos insisted. The fundamental incompatibility remains. Mortal flesh cannot permanently contain primordial essence. Maybe not ordinary mortal flesh, Hemera countered, joining them to form a united front. But he is a Jinchuriki, already adapted to containing immense power within a human form. Naruto felt Kurama stir within him at these words, the fox finally breaking his silence. She's right, kid. Your body is uniquely suited to this. Between your Uzumaki lineage and hosting me, you've got better containment capabilities than any human alive. The Nine Tails speaks truth, Naruto said aloud, causing several deities to gasp at the mention of the chakra beast. I've contained Kurama's power since birth. I can learn to contain this too. Kronos scowled, the wrinkles on his elderly aspect deepening while his infant aspect wailed silently. You risk everything on unproven theory. The council cannot allow, the council doesn't get to decide what happens to me, Naruto interrupted. I do. And I choose to remain as I am, learning to balance both aspects of myself. He turned to address the entire assembly. I understand your concerns. This situation isn't ideal for any of us. But forcing me to abandon my humanity isn't the answer. It would just create a different problem, a creator without compassion, without understanding of what life actually means to those living it. Several council members nodded thoughtfully at this. Gaia in particular seemed moved, the flowers on her form blooming more vibrantly. A compromise, then, suggested the deity of knowledge. Allow the creator time to master his awakening power under supervision. If he succeeds in stabilizing the cosmic disturbances, we reconsider our position. Kronos looked unhappy but recognized he was losing support. How much time? A full lunar cycle in the mortal realm, Nyx proposed. Too long, Kronos countered. 3 days. 7, Hemera negotiated. 1 for each fundamental cosmic force. After tense consideration, Kronos nodded reluctantly. 7 days. If the fractures continue or worsen, we intervene. All in favor. A majority of the council signaled agreement, though several abstained and a few openly opposed. So decided, Kronos declared. 7 days to prove mastery, creator, or face extraction for the greater good. As the council dispersed, returning to their respective realms, Naruto exhaled slowly. That was intense. You did well, Nyx said approvingly. Better than expected. I stood my ground. Nothing special about that. Hemera smiled. You stood your ground against the assembled Primordial Council, beings who have overseen cosmic order since the dawn of time. Few would dare. Yeah, well, I've faced scarier, Naruto shrugged, thinking of pain, Madara, Kagaya. 7 days isn't much time, Nyx said, concern edging her voice. Your power awakens quickly, but complete integration and control. I've mastered impossible techniques before, Naruto replied with determination. Just point me in the right direction. Hemera exchanged looks with Nyx. I believe it's time. Time for what? Naruto asked. To visit the Axis, Nyx answered. The center point of all realities. If any place can help you fully awaken and master your power, it is there. It's not without risk, Hemera cautioned. The Axis exists at the crossroads of all dimensions. The barriers between your human self and divine origin will be at their thinnest there. Could I lose myself? Forget who I am. It's possible, Nyx admitted. But it may be our only option given the time constraint. Naruto thought of Konoha, of his friends waiting for his return, of the shadow clone maintaining his presence there. Most of all, he thought of the fear in people's eyes when reality had wavered around him. Let's do it, he decided. I've never run from a challenge before. Not starting now. The journey to the Axis required crossing multiple dimensional boundaries. Nyx created pathways through her night realm, while Hemera illuminated the way forward with her radiance. Together, they escorted Naruto through landscapes that defied description, places where thought became matter, where time flowed in loops, where physics obeyed entirely different rules. At last, they reached a place that seemed to exist everywhere and nowhere simultaneously, a nexus point where countless realities overlapped like pages in a book. The Axis, Nyx announced as they arrived at what appeared to be an infinitely tall pillar of pure energy, extending above and below beyond perception. All dimensions connect here, Hemera explained. All times, all possibilities. The barriers between states of being are thinnest at this point. Naruto approached the pillar cautiously. It hummed with power beyond anything he'd ever felt, beyond even the divine energies he'd been experiencing since his awakening began. What do I do? He asked. Touch it, Nyx instructed. Allow your consciousness to expand through it. But maintain your sense of self, your identity as Naruto Uzumaki, or you risk dissolving into the cosmic whole. Like meditation, Naruto said, drawing on his shinobi training. Expanding awareness while maintaining center. Exactly, Hemera confirmed. We will anchor you from outside, but the journey within is yours alone. Naruto took a deep breath, centering himself as he'd done countless times during training. Then he reached out and placed his palm against the axis. The universe exploded in his mind. He was everywhere at once, every time, every place, every possibility. He saw the birth of stars and their deaths. He watched civilizations rise and fall across millions of worlds. He witnessed the dance of atoms and the collision of galaxies simultaneously. For a dangerous moment, he began to lose himself in the infinite expanse of awareness. Naruto Uzumaki became a tiny drop in an ocean of consciousness that had existed since before time. But then, a tether. Memories of pain and joy. Ichiraku ramen. Irika's kindness. Sakura's strength. Sasuke's rivalry. Kakashi's guidance. Jiraiya's wisdom. Hinata's love. The faces of friends who had fought alongside him, believed in him, saved him from loneliness. These bonds anchored him, keeping his identity intact as the cosmic awareness flowed through him. And with that stability came understanding. He saw himself, his original self, stirring to consciousness in the primordial void. The first thought. The first will. The first act of creation that set everything in motion. He watched as his consciousness expanded, creating space and time as concepts to organize existence. He saw himself divide aspects of his power into fundamental forces, which eventually became the first deities. Then, the surprising truth, he had not been forced into human form or trapped there. He had chosen it. After eons of existence as pure consciousness, he had deliberately incarnated, wiping his own memory in the process, to experience creation from within. The purpose was clear now: omniscience without experience was incomplete. To truly understand what he had created, he needed to live as part of it. To feel joy and pain, love and loss, triumph and failure. To know what it meant to be mortal in an uncaring cosmos. And now, his two selves were reuniting, divine creator and human ninja finding synthesis, each completing what the other lacked. With this understanding came control. Naruto began to order the chaotic energy flowing through him, categorizing and channeling it through the framework of chakra manipulation he'd learned as a shinobi. Just as he'd mastered the Nine Tails' power by finding harmony rather than dominance, he now integrated his divine essence through cooperation rather than subjugation. Outside, Nyx and Hemera watched in awe as Naruto's form shifted between states, sometimes appearing human, sometimes as pure energy, sometimes as something in between. The space around him warped and stabilized in rhythmic pulses, reality adjusting to his expanding consciousness. "He's doing it," Hemera whispered. "Achieving integration faster than any being in cosmic history." "Because he doesn't fight himself," Nyx observed. "Where other gods see division between divine and mortal, he sees unity." Hours passed in the outside world, though for Naruto, it was both an instant and an eternity. When he finally removed his hand from the axis, he stood transformed. His appearance remained fundamentally human, but with subtle changes. His eyes now contained pinpoints of light like distant stars, and when he moved, he seemed to exist in multiple places simultaneously for a split second before resolving into single form. "How do you feel?" Hemera asked cautiously. Naruto looked at his hands, flexing fingers that could now reshape reality itself. "Complete," he answered. "For the first time, I'm not just Naruto or just the void consciousness. I'm both. Together." "And your power?" Nyx questioned. "Can you control it?" In response, Naruto gestured toward a nearby reality fracture, a place where dimensions had begun to bleed into each other. With a simple movement, he rewove the fabric of space-time, sealing the breach effortlessly. "I understand it now," he explained. "These fractures aren't just happening randomly. They're concentrated around focal points, places where cosmic energy converges." "That knowledge could save countless realities," Nyx said with satisfaction. "The council will have to acknowledge your progress." Naruto nodded, then froze as a sudden awareness struck him. "Konoha. Something's wrong." "Your home realm?" Hemera asked. How can you tell? I'm connected to it now, to all realities, but especially to the one where I've lived my life. His expression darkened. The Void Eaters have found my shadow clone. They're attacking the village again, but worse this time. Without waiting for response, Naruto opened a dimensional pathway, tearing open space with a gesture that came as naturally as breathing. Through the opening, they could see Konoha in chaos, buildings collapsing as massive shadow forms descended from a tear in the sky. I have to go back, Naruto said urgently. We'll come with you, Hemera offered immediately. No, he countered. The council needs to know what I've learned, about the focal points, about why this is happening. You two can explain while I handle this. Nyx hesitated, then nodded. Be careful. Your power is still new, even with your increased control. I will. Naruto turned toward the portal, then paused. Thank you both. For believing in me when everyone else wanted to erase my humanity. Hemera smiled warmly. In the balance between day and night, we found wisdom the others lacked. With a final nod, Naruto stepped through the dimensional doorway, returning to the village hidden in the leaves, no longer just its protector, but its creator as well. Konoha was engulfed in shadow. The Void Eaters had grown bolder, larger, more numerous. They poured from a massive rift above the village, consuming everything they touched. Buildings, trees, even the stone faces of the Hokage monument dissolved into nothingness upon contact. Shinobi fought valiantly but ineffectively, jutsu passed through the shadow creatures without effect. Naruto's shadow clone had been destroyed almost immediately, unable to channel the power needed to combat cosmic entities. Naruto materialized at the village center, his arrival creating a pulse of energy that momentarily pushed back the shadows. People stared in shock, both at his sudden appearance and his slightly altered appearance. Naruto. Sakura called from where she was evacuating civilians. Is that really you? It's me, he confirmed, his voice carrying easily despite the chaos. Get everyone to safety. I'll handle this. Tsunade appeared beside him, clothes torn and face grim. Your clone explained some of what's happening, but not why they're back with reinforcements. They want me, Naruto explained simply. Or rather, what's awakening inside me. Above them, the void rift expanded, consuming a larger portion of the sky. The largest Void Eater yet emerged, a titanic shadow that blotted out the sun as it descended toward the village. Creator, it boomed, the sound vibrating teeth and bones. Your essence will return to chaos. Naruto stepped forward, standing alone between the village and the encroaching nothingness. The power he'd integrated at the axis flowed through him, controlled now, directed by both his human will and divine understanding. I rejected you once, he called to the void. I'll do it again. Before, you were incomplete, the void responded. Now you have remembered. Now you are vulnerable. It struck with impossible speed, tendrils of anti-reality lashing down toward Naruto. Instead of dodging, he raised his hand and caught the darkness, holding it like solid matter. The villagers and shinobi watched in awe as their friend and comrade, the once scorned orphan boy, held back oblivion with bare hands. You're right about one thing, Naruto told the void, his eyes glowing with inner light. I have remembered. But you're wrong about what that means. He pushed back, not with physical strength but with the fundamental power of creation itself. Where his energy touched the void, it reluctantly took form, solidifying into matter that could be affected by physical laws. I'm not returning to what I was, Naruto continued, his voice resonating with power that made the air vibrate. And I'm not abandoning what I've become. I am both now, void and form, chaos and order, creator and created. The Void Eaters shrieked in frustrated rage, redoubling their assault. Naruto stood firm, drawing on both his shinobi training and cosmic awareness to counter their attacks. He moved like a ninja, dodging, weaving, striking, but each movement carried the weight of divine will behind it. Where the void touched the village, he restored reality with a gesture. Where shadow creatures threatened civilians, he unmade them with a word in the old tongue. The battle raged across dimensions, visible to human eyes only as blinding flashes of light and deepening pools of shadow. From the shelter of a reinforced building, Naruto's friends watched in amazement. What happened to him? Hinata whispered, her Byakugan active but struggling to comprehend what she saw flowing through Naruto's chakra network. I don't think he's just Naruto anymore, Shikamaru replied thoughtfully. But he's not someone else either. He's more. On the battlefield, Naruto realized the conventional approach wouldn't work. As long as the rift remained open, more Void Eaters would continue to pour through. He needed to close it at its source. Channeling his power, he lifted from the ground, rising to meet the void rift directly. Below, the people of Konoha watched their defender ascend into the maelstrom of nothingness, a single point of light against consuming darkness. At the edge of the rift, Naruto faced the raw chaos of pre-creation, the state from which he had originally emerged, the nothingness that preceded everything. It called to him, promising release from the limitations of form, the return to unlimited potential. For a dangerous moment, temptation washed over him. How simple it would be to surrender, to rejoin the void and end this struggle. To become again the boundless consciousness that existed before time. Then he looked down at the village, at the people he'd protected, the bonds he'd formed, the life he'd lived. At Irika who'd acknowledged him first. At Kakashi reading his book while pretending not to worry. At Tsunade with her hands on her hips, refusing to retreat. At all of them. That was what the void lacked. Connection. Purpose. Love. I chose humanity for a reason, Naruto realized aloud. Not as a prison or a disguise, but as an education. With newfound conviction, he reached into the rift with both hands, physical and metaphysical, and began to close it. Not by force, but by re-establishing the boundaries of reality that he himself had originally created. This is my world, he declared, speaking to the void itself. These are my people. You will not have them, and you will not have me. The rift began to close, reality knitting back together under Naruto's guidance. The Void Eaters howled as their connection to pre-creation weakened, their forms becoming vulnerable to the laws of physics. As the rift sealed to a pinpoint, Naruto turned to face the remaining shadow creatures. They had lost their advantage but fought on desperately, consuming matter to maintain their existence in a reality that now rejected them. You don't belong here, Naruto told them, his tone not vengeful but firm. But I won't destroy you. There's another way. Drawing on his restored knowledge, he created a smaller rift, not to pre-creation, but to a pocket dimension where chaos and order could coexist in balance. A reservation for beings that existed between states of reality. This is your home now, he offered. Neither total void nor rigid form. A middle ground where you can exist without threatening creation. Some Void Eaters recoiled from the offer, preferring destruction to compromise. These, Naruto was forced to unmake, returning their essence to the cosmic flow. Others, sensing the authenticity of his offer, cautiously entered the new realm, finding it hospitable to their unique nature. When the last Void Eater had either been dealt with or relocated, Naruto descended back to the village center. The destruction was extensive, but no lives had been lost. He had ensured that with selective manipulation of time and space during the battle. As his feet touched the ground, exhaustion hit him. Integrating his power was one thing, using it so extensively was another. He swayed slightly, and familiar hands steadied him. Easy there, Sakura said, supporting his weight. Even gods need rest, apparently. Around him, villagers emerged from shelter, approaching cautiously. Their expressions mixed awe, fear, gratitude, and uncertainty. Naruto felt their gazes like physical weight. I'm still me, he said to them. Just, more than I was. Tsunade approached, looking him over with a medical professional's eye and a leader's concern. Are they gone for good? Not for good, Naruto answered honestly. But they won't return in force like this again. I've created a boundary they can't easily cross, and a home for those willing to coexist peacefully. And you? Kakashi asked, joining them. Will you stay, or does divinity call you elsewhere? The question hung in the air, giving voice to what everyone wondered. Naruto looked around at the damaged village, at the faces of people he'd known all his life, at the place that had rejected him, then accepted him, and finally relied on him. Konoha is my home, he said firmly. I may have responsibilities beyond this world now, but I won't abandon it or anyone here. Relief visibly washed over many faces. Others still looked uncertain, and Naruto couldn't blame them. How do you reconcile your friend and comrade with a being that apparently created existence itself? It'll take time, he acknowledged to Tsunade privately as rebuilding began. For them to adjust. For me too. People adapt, she replied with surprising optimism. They adapted to you being the Ninetales Jinchuriki. They'll adapt to this too. This is a bit bigger than having a tailed beast inside me, Naruto pointed out. Tsunade shrugged. Degree, not kind. You're still Naruto. Just with an even more ridiculous power upgrade than usual. Her casual acceptance made him laugh, releasing tension he hadn't realized he was carrying. As the day progressed, Naruto helped with reconstruction, using his power judiciously to restore buildings that had been completely destroyed while letting conventional methods handle the rest. He was careful not to overwhelm people with displays of divine power. By nightfall, much of the village had been restored. Naruto stood on the Hokage monument, looking out over Konoha as lights began to twinkle in windows. It looked so small now, compared to the vastness he had glimpsed through the axis. Yet it mattered more to him than entire galaxies. He sensed presences materializing behind him and turned to find Nyx and Hemera arriving through a dimensional portal. The council has been informed of your success, Nyx reported. Even Kronos was impressed, though he'd rather eat his own timepiece than admit it. The evacuation plan has been suspended, Hemera added cheerfully. They've acknowledged your right to exist in your chosen form. Generous of them, Naruto remarked with a touch of sarcasm. Hemera laughed. Indeed. Gods seldom admit when they're wrong. You've achieved something unprecedented, forcing the Primordials to reconsider their most fundamental assumptions. I didn't do it to prove a point, Naruto said, looking back at the village. I did it to protect what matters to me. And that, Nyx said quietly, is precisely why you succeeded where the Pantheon would have failed. They would have destroyed the Void Eaters completely, creating cosmic imbalance in the process. You found a third option. Naruto shrugged. That's kind of my thing. Finding another way when everyone says there are only two choices. They stood in companionable silence, watching the village settle into evening routines that seemed simultaneously mundane and miraculous after the day's events. What will you do now? Hemera finally asked. You have obligations to both realms. I'll balance them, Naruto replied with confidence. Create shadow clones to maintain my presence here while I handle cosmic stuff. Visit the divine realms when needed, but keep my home in Konoha. It won't be easy, Nyx cautioned. Many in the Pantheon still distrust your approach. And other cosmic entities will seek to challenge or use your power. When has anything worth doing been easy? Naruto countered with a grin. Besides, I've got good advisors. He nodded to both goddesses. And friends on both sides of reality. Hemera beamed at him, her radiance brightening the night around them. Well said. There is one more matter, Nyx said, her tone turning serious. The disruptions in the cosmic balance, they weren't entirely natural. Someone or something deliberately accelerated your awakening. You think someone's been pulling strings behind the scenes? Naruto asked, frowning. We suspect Thanatos, Hemera replied. The god of death has been amassing power beyond his domain for centuries. Your return threatens his ambitions. Great, Naruto sighed. Divine politics again. Politics with the fate of multiple dimensions at stake, Nyx clarified. But not a crisis for tonight. You've earned rest and time with your people. The goddesses prepared to depart, opening a pathway back to their realms. We'll return soon, Hemera promised. There's still much for you to learn about your full capabilities. And strategies to discuss regarding Thanatos, Nyx added. As the portal began to close, Naruto called after them, "Thank you both. For everything." Their acknowledgement came as pulses of energy, one cool and dark, one warm and bright, that resonated with his own power in harmonious response. Left alone on the monument, Naruto sat cross-legged, looking out over the village he'd saved, again, but from a threat beyond anything they'd faced before. Below, people were already telling stories about what they'd witnessed, the legend of Naruto growing stranger and more magnificent with each retelling. Some things never change, he said to himself, amused. Within him, Kurama finally spoke again. So, kid. You're the creator of everything, huh? That mean you made me too? Apparently so, Naruto replied mentally. Does that make things weird between us? The Nine-Tails chuckled, the sound rumbling through Naruto's consciousness. No weirder than they already were. Just don't expect me to start calling you Lord or anything. Wouldn't dream of it. As stars appeared in the night sky, Naruto recognized them with new understanding, not just as distant suns, but as parts of himself, fragments of the first creative act. Yet here, grounded in human form, with human bonds and human purpose, he found a satisfaction that cosmic awareness alone could never provide. He was Naruto Uzumaki, shinobi of Konoha, friend, comrade, Jinchuriki. He was also the primordial void, the first consciousness, the creator of existence. Neither identity negated the other. Together, they made him whole. With this understanding settled firmly in his being, Naruto rose and headed down from the monument toward Ichiraku Ramen. Being a god, after all, was no reason to miss out on his favorite meal. Chapter 2, Between night and day. 3 days after the Void Eater attack, Naruto sat cross-legged on the ceiling of his apartment, focusing on a single point in space. The air shimmered, then split open like a zipper, revealing a glimpse of stars and cosmic energy beyond. Got it, he grinned, then immediately lost concentration. The portal snapped shut, the backlash of energy knocking him off the ceiling. He landed in a heap on his bed. Damn it. Creating stable portals between realms was harder than it looked. Nyx and Hemera made it seem effortless, but they'd had eons of practice. Naruto had, well, less than a week. A knock at his window interrupted his frustration. Shikamaru perched on the sill, eyebrows raised. Training going well? He asked dryly as Naruto let him in. Just peachy, Naruto grumbled. Whatcha need? Hokage wants you. Something about temporal anomalies near the academy. Shikamaru studied him curiously. So, God, huh? It's complicated. Always is with you. Shikamaru shrugged. Just don't forget who your friends are, divine or not. Naruto grinned. As if I could. At the academy, a small crowd had gathered around what appeared to be a tree growing backward in time. Leaves flew up from the ground, reattaching to branches. Fallen fruit reassembled and returned to stems. Even birds' nests rebuilt themselves twig by twig. Started an hour ago, Tsunade explained as Naruto arrived. No apparent cause. Naruto approached the tree cautiously. Unlike the previous anomalies, this one felt deliberate. Like someone had carefully reversed this specific tree's time stream while leaving everything around it untouched. This isn't a natural fracture, he said, touching the bark. Energy tingled through his fingertips, familiar energy. This was created by someone who knows what they're doing. A message? Tsunade asked. More like a calling card. Naruto closed his eyes, sensing the signature in the reversed flow. Chronos. The time god isn't happy I'm still walking around with my power. With a gesture, he realigned the tree's temporal flow to match its surroundings. The reversal stopped, the tree settling into normal time again. He's testing me, Naruto realized. Checking my response time, my control. Is this the beginning of a divine war? Tsunade asked bluntly. Because Konoha can't afford to be the battlefield. No, Naruto assured her. Just immortal pettiness. I'll handle it. That evening, Naruto packed a small bag. If Kronos was making moves, it was time to return to the divine realms and deal with things directly. He'd learned enough about portal creation to make the journey himself, though it would take considerable concentration. As he focused his energy, preparing to tear open reality, a cool night breeze swept through his room. The shadows deepened, coalescing into Nyx's elegant form. I was just coming to find you, Naruto said, surprised by her timing. I know. Her silver eyes reflected starlight that wasn't present in his apartment. The council is convening again. Your presence is, requested. The way she said, requested, made it clear this wasn't optional. Kronos has been messing with time in my village, Naruto said, irritation evident. A minor provocation, Nyx acknowledged. He hopes to demonstrate your continued destabilizing influence on reality. By causing the exact problems he's complaining about. That's some twisted logic. Nyx's lips curved slightly. Gods rarely follow human rationality. Especially the older ones. Says the primordial goddess of night. I never claimed to be rational, she replied, amusement in her voice. Merely less irrational than some. A golden light interrupted their conversation as another portal opened. Hemera stepped through, daylight streaming around her form even though it was evening in Konoha. Mother, she greeted Nyx, then turned to Naruto. Creator. Or do you prefer Naruto here? Just Naruto is fine, he said, still uncomfortable with the creator title. You're both here, something big must be happening. The pantheon divides into factions, Hemera explained. Some support your integration approach. Others back Kronos and his demand for extraction. A few advocate neutrality. Great, Naruto sighed. Cosmic politics. Politics that could determine the fate of all realities, Nyx reminded him. Including this one. No pressure or anything. Naruto grabbed his pack. Let's go face the music. Hemera created a pathway of pure light, while Nyx formed one of deepest shadow. The two portals existed side by side, neither conflicting with the other. You have a choice, Hemera said. Day or night. Each realm offers different perspectives, different training. Naruto looked between the portals. Can't I experience both? The goddesses exchanged surprised glances. Traditionally, divine entities align with either cosmic light or cosmic darkness, Nyx explained. Few attempt to master both currents. Well, I'm not traditional anything, Naruto replied with a grin. How about I split my time? Learn from both of you. Hemera laughed, the sound like sunshine breaking through clouds. Perfect. I'll take mornings, mother can have evenings. We'll create the most balanced creator the cosmos has ever seen. Nyx seemed less enthusiastic but nodded agreement. An unorthodox approach. But potentially valuable. Story of my life, Naruto said, stepping toward the light portal. Let's start with day, since it's morning somewhere, right? He crossed the threshold into brilliant radiance, Hemera following close behind. Nyx dissolved into shadow, her voice lingering, I will meet you at the council gathering. Be prepared. The day realm blinded Naruto momentarily as they arrived. When his vision adjusted, he gasped at the landscape before him. Unlike the night realm's cosmic void filled with distant structures, the day realm was a vast, impossibly beautiful vista of golden fields stretching to crystal mountains. The sky blazed with multiple suns of different colors, creating a perpetual golden rose glow. Flowing rivers of pure light cut through the terrain, emptying into a distant sea that sparkled with energy rather than water. Welcome to my domain, Hemera said proudly. The realm of day, where potential becomes manifest and all things are revealed in clarity. It's, wow, Naruto managed, turning in a full circle to take it all in. Where Nyx's realm had been mysterious and vast, Hemera's was vibrant and immediate. You could touch it, feel it, breathe it in. The night shows what might be, Hemera explained as they walked along a path of crystallized sunlight. The day shows what is. Both perspectives are necessary for complete understanding. As they traveled, Naruto noticed beings moving throughout the realm, some humanoid, others taking forms of pure radiance or living crystal. Unlike the distant, aloof entities of the night realm, these approached openly, studying Naruto with undisguised curiosity. Word travels fast, he commented as another group of light beings flew overhead, calling greetings to Hemera while pointing at Naruto. The day conceals nothing, she replied. Including gossip. They arrived at what appeared to be an open-air pavilion constructed of impossibly thin golden pillars supporting a dome of prismatic crystal. Inside, various beings gathered in clusters, their conversations halting as Naruto and Hemera entered. My students, Hemera explained. Lesser deities, nascent cosmic forces, even a few mortal adepts who've transcended their original forms. All study the arts of illumination and manifestation here. A murmur ran through the gathered entities as they recognized Naruto, or rather, what dwelt within him. The Creator walks among us, whispered one being composed entirely of geometric light patterns. Others bowed or made gestures of respect. Stop that, Naruto said, uncomfortable with the reverence. I'm here to learn, same as you. This statement caused even more excitement. The idea that the primordial consciousness would position itself as a student seemed revolutionary to them. Hemera clapped her hands, bringing order to the pavilion. Today's lessons are suspended. The Creator indeed wishes to learn, but his needs are specific and time is limited. The students dispersed reluctantly, many casting backward glances at Naruto as they departed. So what exactly am I learning here? Naruto asked once they were alone. The nature of manifestation, Hemera replied, gesturing for him to sit on a cushion of solidified light. In your human life, you create with chakra, an energy that combines physical and spiritual essence. As the Creator, you shaped reality from pure consciousness, without structure or limitation. And now I need to bridge those approaches. Precisely. She sat across from him. Your human form gives you focus and intent. Your divine essence gives you unlimited potential. Learning to channel the latter through the former is our goal. For hours, they practiced. Hemera taught Naruto techniques of divine manifestation, how to shape reality not through hand signs and chakra molding, but through pure conceptual will. It was like learning to move a muscle he didn't know he had. Imagine the outcome, Hemera instructed as Naruto struggled to create a simple flower from nothing. Not the process, not the components, but the completed existence itself. That's backwards from how ninjutsu works, Naruto complained. We build effects piece by piece, step by step. Exactly the limitation we must overcome. Divine creation doesn't assemble, it conceives wholeness into being. Naruto closed his eyes, trying a different approach. Instead of visualizing the flower being constructed, he simply imagined it existing where currently nothing did. A complete transfer from potential to actual. When he opened his eyes, a perfect lotus bloom floated above his palm. I did it, he exclaimed, then immediately lost concentration. The flower dissolved into motes of light. Hemera smiled encouragingly. Progress. Creation is the easy part for you, it's your fundamental nature. Maintenance and stability come next. By midday, though the light never actually changed in the day realm, Naruto could reliably manifest small objects and maintain them for several minutes. The process was exhausting in a way completely different from chakra depletion, it taxed his concentration rather than his energy reserves. Enough for today, Hemera finally announced. You've accomplished in hours what most take decades to learn. Still feels clumsy, Naruto admitted. Like trying to write with my non-dominant hand. That will improve with practice. She produced a globe of light that expanded to form an image of the council chambers where they were expected. But now, politics awaits. Naruto groaned. Can't we skip that part? If only, Hemera laughed. Unfortunately, reality itself is at stake, so we should probably participate. The council gathered in a neutral dimension, a vast amphitheater suspended in the void between realms. Naruto arrived with Hemera to find dozens of cosmic entities already seated, their forms ranging from humanoid to completely abstract depending on their nature and preference. Nyx awaited them at the entrance, her expression unreadable. The factions have solidified, she reported quietly. Kronos leads those demanding your extraction. Gaia heads those supporting integration. Undecided deities hold the balance of power. So I need to convince the fence-sitters I'm not a cosmic disaster waiting to happen? Naruto asked. Essentially, yes. No pressure, he muttered again. They entered together, causing an immediate hush as all eyes turned to examine Naruto. He felt their attention like physical pressure, the collective focus of beings who had shaped solar systems and guided evolution. Kronos rose from his central position, his form cycling rapidly between ages as his agitation affected his temporal control. The Creator approaches. Let the record show he arrives escorted by both day and night, an unprecedented alignment. Murmurs spread through the assembly at this observation. Clearly, the alliance between Nyx and Hemera carried significant weight. I come to address your concerns directly, Naruto stated, voice carrying easily through the chamber. And to demonstrate that integration is not only possible but preferable to extraction. Bold claims, Kronos responded. Yet reality fractures persist throughout the cosmos. Temporal anomalies. Dimensional bleeds. The void stirs restlessly at your continued divided state. The fractures are healing, Naruto countered. My control increases daily. And some recent anomalies were deliberately created. He fixed Kronos with a pointed stare. The time god had the grace to look momentarily discomfort before recovering. Minor interventions to test your responses. The greater concern remains. A new voice joined the debate, a deity Naruto hadn't met before, whose form appeared as a living library, books and scrolls floating around a vaguely humanoid shape of pure knowledge. I am Mnemosyne, keeper of memory, she introduced herself. And I question whether true integration is possible. The Creator's original consciousness existed before duality, before the concepts of night and day, light and dark, being and non-being. How can such fundamental totality exist within the limitations of form, which is defined by precisely these dualities? It was a good question, philosophical rather than confrontational. Naruto appreciated the shift in tone. Because I'm not just trying to stuff the original consciousness into a human body, he explained. I'm creating something new, a synthesis that honors both states of being. He gestured to himself. This form isn't a prison or a disguise. It's a focal point, a lens that gives direction and purpose to power that was previously unlimited but abstract. Mnemosyne's books fluttered with interest. You suggest that limitation itself has value? Absolutely, Naruto affirmed. In my human life, I've learned that boundaries create meaning. Mortality makes each moment precious. Struggle leads to growth. These aren't weaknesses, they're strengths my original consciousness never had. This perspective clearly resonated with several council members. Even some of Kronos' supporters looked thoughtful. Gaia spoke next, the earth goddess's form shifting between a woman made of living soil and a planetary entity. The Creator speaks wisdom. What use is infinite power without purpose? What value has existence without understanding its meaning? Philosophical niceties, Kronos dismissed. The practical danger remains. Should your control falter, even momentarily, entire dimensions could collapse. Then help me, Naruto challenged, surprising the assembly. Instead of working against me, share your knowledge. Teach me to stabilize reality more effectively. I'm willing to learn from all of you. The directness of this appeal caught Kronos off guard. He had expected defiance, not collaboration. Before he could respond, a dark presence materialized at the edge of the council chamber. Tall, gaunt, and wrapped in shadows deeper than even Nyx's, the figure emanated coldness that transcended physical sensation. Thanatos, Nyx identified quietly. God of Death. How interesting to find such heated debate over a settled matter, Thanatos spoke, his voice surprisingly gentle despite his foreboding appearance. The Creator has clearly demonstrated control. The fractures diminish. The crisis passes. Naruto studied the death god carefully. Unlike the others who projected their nature openly, Thanatos kept his power tightly controlled, revealing nothing he didn't intend to show. His apparent support felt calculated rather than genuine. Your sudden interest in this matter is noted, Deathbringer, Kronos responded, suspicion evident. You've abstained from council business for millennia. Why appear now? Because balance matters to me, Thanatos replied smoothly. And the council appears determined to disrupt it by extracting the creator from his chosen form. Nyx shifted closer to Naruto, whispering, be wary. Thanatos never involves himself without ulterior motive. The council dissolved into smaller debates, deities arguing among themselves about precedent, risk, and cosmic law. Naruto found himself at the center of a philosophical hurricane, with primordial forces taking sides for or against his continued existence in human form. After hours of debate, a temporary resolution was reached. Naruto would continue his integration approach, but under constant monitoring. Representatives from multiple factions would observe his progress and report any destabilization immediately. Not ideal, but we'll take it, Hemera told Naruto as the council dispersed. It buys you time. Time to do what exactly, he asked. To become so proficient at balancing your dual nature that extraction becomes unthinkable, Nyx answered. To demonstrate that your approach creates a stronger, more conscious creator than existed before. Thanatos approached them, moving with liquid grace that belied his skeletal appearance. Up close, his eyes revealed endless depth, not malevolent, exactly, but utterly devoid of attachment to life. Creator, he greeted Naruto with a slight bow. Your integration experiment intrigues me. So rarely does anything truly new emerge in the cosmos. Thanks for the support, Naruto replied cautiously. Though I get the feeling it wasn't entirely selfless. Thanatos smiled thinly. Nothing ever is, in the divine realms or elsewhere. We all seek advantage. My interest merely aligns with your continuation, for now. With that cryptic statement, he dissolved into shadow, leaving behind a lingering chill. I don't trust him, Naruto stated flatly. Wise, Nyx confirmed. Thanatos has been expanding his influence beyond natural death. Some suspect he covets broader dominion over endings of all kinds. And my awakening disrupts his plans somehow. Perhaps, Hemera mused. Or perhaps he sees opportunity in your unique position. Either way, caution is warranted. After the council, Nyx transported Naruto to her realm as promised. The night domain welcomed them with vast cosmic darkness illuminated by distant structures and celestial phenomena. Your training with Hemera progressed well, she asked as they traveled toward her palace. I learned some basics of direct manifestation, Naruto confirmed. Creating through conceptual will instead of chakra manipulation. Good. My teachings will complement hers. Day brings things into being. Night reveals what lies beneath and between. The Palace of Night looked different from Naruto's previous visit, darker, more mysterious, with corridors that seemed to lead to entirely different dimensions when glimpsed from the corner of his eye. Your perception expands, Nyx noted, observing his reaction to the palace's shifting architecture. You begin to see beyond linear dimensions. It's disorienting, Naruto admitted. Like trying to look in every direction at once. Precisely the lesson Night offers, reality is far more complex than what exists in immediate perception. The spaces between and beneath matter as much as what is directly observed. Nyx led him to a chamber he hadn't seen before, a perfectly dark room where not even starlight penetrated. As they entered, Naruto found himself unable to see anything, not even his own body. The void chamber, Nyx explained, her voice coming from everywhere and nowhere. Here, all external stimuli are removed, allowing perception to turn inward. What am I supposed to do? Naruto asked, turning blindly in the darkness. Remember. The simplicity of the instruction belied its difficulty. In absolute darkness, with nothing to distract his senses, Naruto was left with only consciousness itself. Slowly, memories began to surface, not from his human life, but from before. The void. The first stirring of awareness within nothingness. Curiosity about what might exist beyond non-existence. The first creative impulse. As these proto-memories emerged, Naruto felt his consciousness expanding beyond his physical form, connecting with aspects of himself that had remained dormant despite his awakening. I created duality, he whispered, the realization emerging from somewhere beyond thought. Before me, there was no distinction between existence and non-existence, light and dark, being and void. Yes, Nyx's voice confirmed from the darkness. The first act of creation was separation, the establishment of boundaries between what is and what is not. And you. I created you early. To embody the concept of darkness distinct from light. I was among the first, she acknowledged. Night existed before stars, before planets, before life. Darkness preceded illumination. More memories surfaced, the loneliness of singular consciousness, the decision to diversify, to create beings with their own awareness. The first pantheon, fragments of himself given independent existence. I divided myself, Naruto continued, following the thread of memory. Created others so I wouldn't be alone. Established cosmic laws to govern their interactions. And then, eventually, you withdrew, Nyx prompted. Why? This question touched something deeper, more personal. Naruto felt resistance within himself, part of him didn't want to remember this decision. He pushed through the barrier, determined to understand. I became distant, he realized. Watching creation unfold but no longer participating directly. The pantheon evolved, developed their own agendas. Cosmic forces stabilized into self-sustaining systems. And I grew dissatisfied. The truth emerged painfully. Creating without experiencing felt hollow. I understood existence conceptually but not experientially. I knew everything about the cosmos except what it meant to be part of it. So you chose incarnation, Nyx concluded. Not as a god or cosmic force, but as a mortal being subject to all the limitations and struggles of physical existence. Yes. The memory crystallized fully. I fragmented my consciousness, dispersed most of my power throughout creation, and focused a spark of awareness into mortal form. I chose to be born, to live, to struggle, to learn what my creation meant from the inside. The darkness around them lightened gradually, revealing Nyx standing before him, her expression thoughtful. And now that spark reunites with its source. But changed, shaped by human experience. I don't want to go back to what I was, Naruto said firmly. Omnipotent but disconnected. I want to maintain what I've gained, my humanity, my connections, my understanding of what life actually means to those living it. Then that is what we must achieve, Nyx decided. Not merely containment of divine power within human form, but true integration where each aspect strengthens the other. Over the following days, Naruto shuttled between realms, mornings with Hemera learning manifestation and afternoons with Nyx exploring cosmic awareness. Nights he spent back in Konoha, maintaining his connections there and addressing minor reality fractures that continued to appear, though with decreasing frequency. His control grew rapidly. What had once taken intense concentration, creating portals, manipulating fundamental forces, perceiving across dimensions, became almost intuitive. His human mind adapted to processing cosmic information, while his divine awareness learned to focus through the lens of human experience. Throughout this intensive training, Naruto became increasingly aware of the unique perspectives Nyx and Hemera offered, not just about power, but about existence itself. Their complementary approaches fascinated him, drawing him into deeper connection with both goddesses. Hemera's boundless enthusiasm and direct approach resonated with his own natural optimism. Her realm of perpetual day emphasized clarity, action, and possibility. Training with her felt energizing, filled with laughter and discovery. Nyx's mysterious depth and subtle wisdom appealed to the parts of him that had matured through hardship. Her night realm taught patience, perception beyond the obvious, and the value of what remained hidden. In her presence, he found a calm centeredness that balanced his usual impulsiveness. On the 5th day after the council meeting, Naruto created a perfect miniature star during his morning session with Hemera, a feat that impressed even her. "Magnificent," she exclaimed as the tiny sun hovered between them, radiating actual heat and light. "Your control of energy states has advanced tremendously." Naruto maintained the star's nuclear fusion at precisely the right level, neither allowing it to expand nor collapse. It's getting easier to hold multiple awareness levels simultaneously, focusing on both quantum interactions and macro structures at the same time. "That's the integration at work," Hemera said, circling the miniature star with obvious delight. "Your human mind brings focus, while your divine aspect handles the complexity." As they admired the creation, Naruto found himself studying Hemera herself more than the star. The goddess of day moved with a grace that embodied both power and joy. Light didn't just surround her, it responded to her, intensifying when she laughed, shifting to match her emotions. She caught him watching and smiled knowingly. "Something on your mind, creator?" "Naruto," he corrected automatically, then felt warmth rise in his cheeks. "Just, appreciating how you embody your domain. The way you and daylight interact, it's like you're having a conversation without words." "An apt observation," she replied, pleased. "We primordials don't simply rule our domains, we are them, in a fundamental sense. I am day made conscious, just as my mother is night given awareness. And I'm supposedly the void that gained consciousness," Naruto mused. "But it feels distant, abstract, not immediate like my human identity." Hemera approached, studying him thoughtfully. "Perhaps because you've lived this human life fully, with all its emotions and connections. Your experience as Naruto has a richness your existence as pure consciousness lacked." "Yeah," he agreed. "That's exactly it. Being human is messy and complicated and limited, but it's so real." "You speak of connection," Hemera observed. "The bonds between beings. Something we gods often fail to understand deeply. Don't you have connections? Family, friends, relationships? Of a sort." She gestured to the space around them. "I have my mother, though our natures keep us often apart. I have peers among the pantheon, alliances and rivalries. But the intense, passionate bonds mortals form? Those have largely remained mysteries to us." "That seems sad," Naruto said without thinking. Instead of taking offense, Hemera looked intrigued. "Does it? Perhaps it is. Perhaps in gaining cosmic power, we sacrificed something equally valuable." Their eyes met, and Naruto felt something shift between them, a connection forming that transcended teacher and student, goddess and awakening deity. For a moment, Hemera wasn't just the embodiment of day but a being capable of curiosity, growth, even longing. The moment stretched between them, charged with possibilities, until a messenger of light interrupted, bringing news that Nyx requested Naruto's immediate presence in her realm. "Duty calls," Hemera said, a hint of regret in her voice. "We'll continue tomorrow." Naruto's afternoon session with Nyx took place in the Archive of Ages, where countless records of cosmic history floated in organized chaos. The night goddess appeared concerned, pacing between shelving dimensions as records automatically sorted themselves around her. "Thanatos makes moves in the shadows," she explained without preamble. "Since the council meeting, he has contacted dozens of minor deities, offering power in exchange for allegiance. Building a faction? Naruto guessed. Building an army, Nix corrected grimly. My informants report he makes specific inquiries about your abilities, weaknesses, daily movements between realms. He's gathering intel for an attack, Naruto realized. But why? What does he gain by moving against me? Nix gestured, and a book floated down from a higher shelf, opening to display moving images of cosmic history. It showed Thanatos in earlier epochs, his domain limited to natural death, operating in balance with forces of creation and life. Death was once merely a transition, she explained. Thanatos shepherded consciousness from one state to another, maintaining cosmic balance. But over millennia, he began absorbing power from the souls he guided, expanding his influence beyond his designated domain. The book showed Thanatos growing stronger, darker, his influence spreading to concepts adjacent to death, entropy, decay, endings of all kinds. In your absence, Nix continued, with the primordial creator consciousness no longer actively maintaining boundaries, Thanatos has overstepped dramatically. He now seeks dominion over all forms of conclusion, not just physical death, but the death of ideas, civilizations, even cosmic cycles. And my awakening threatens his expansion, Naruto concluded. Precisely. Your return, especially in integrated form, would re-establish primordial boundaries, limiting his accumulated power. Naruto processed this information thoughtfully. So we can expect him to either try eliminating me or finding a way to use my power for his own ends. Yes. Though direct confrontation seems unlikely. Thanatos operates through manipulation, patience, and perfect timing. He strikes only when victory is assured. They spent hours reviewing cosmic defenses, identifying vulnerabilities in Naruto's training schedule and establishing contingency plans. The work was intricate, demanding, requiring both tactical thinking and multidimensional awareness. As they worked side by side in the archive, Naruto found himself increasingly attuned to Nix's presence. Unlike Hemera's bright energy, Nix emanated a calm depth that felt like still water reflecting stars, beautiful but fathomless. Her movements were precise, economical, each gesture carrying subtle meaning. You're watching me, she observed without looking up from the cosmic map they were studying. Sorry, Naruto said reflexively. No need for apology. Observation is valuable. Now she did look at him, silver eyes unreadable. What do you see? The directness of her question caught him off guard. I see, balance. Perfect balance between power and restraint. You never do more than necessary, but exactly what's needed. It's kinda mesmerizing. Nix appeared surprised by his perception. Most see only darkness in me, or mystery. Few recognize the discipline. Well, I've gotten pretty good at seeing what's underneath the underneath, Naruto said with a small smile, quoting his old sensei. A useful skill for one who must perceive across realities. Nix studied him in return. You've changed since our first meeting. In good ways, I hope. Yes. Your power integrates more smoothly. Your awareness expands without losing focus. You begin to embody both aspects of yourself simultaneously rather than switching between them. I've had good teachers, Naruto acknowledged. Then, acting on impulse rather than calculation, he added, and I've enjoyed learning from you specifically. The night realm feels, I don't know, peaceful somehow, despite all its vastness. Something subtle shifted in Nix's expression, not quite a smile, but a softening. Night conceals but also reveals what day cannot show. Some truths are only visible in darkness. Like stars, Naruto suggested. Yes. Like stars. The moment between them grew quiet, charged with unspoken recognition. Nix broke it first, returning to the cosmic map with renewed focus, but something had changed, an acknowledgement of connection beyond mere alliance or teacher-student dynamics. Their session ended with unexpected news. A messenger appeared, reporting another massive reality fracture near Konoha. This one isn't natural, the Starlight servant reported. It bears the signature of deliberate tampering. Naruto stood immediately. I need to go back. I'll accompany you, Nyx decided. This may be Thanatos testing our response. I'll fetch Hemera, the messenger offered. The three of you together would present a unified front. Do it, Naruto agreed. Meet us in Konoha. They arrived in the forests outside the hidden leaf to find a grotesque sight, a tear in reality that leaked not void or chaos, but something worse, accelerated entropy. Trees, earth, even air itself aged centuries in seconds when touched by the energy seeping from the rift. A group of ANBU kept civilians back while attempting unsuccessfully to contain the spread. Time manipulation, Nyx identified immediately. But not Chronos' work. This is cruder, focused solely on decay rather than true temporal flow. Thanatos, Naruto guessed. Death is the ultimate entropy. Tsunade appeared beside them, looking harried. About time you showed up. This thing's been expanding for an hour, we've evacuated the eastern quarter of the village. We'll handle it, Naruto assured her, already analyzing the rift structure. Its edges pulsed with sickly green energy unlike the pure void of previous fractures. Hemera arrived in a flash of daylight, taking in the situation quickly. A death rift. Thanatos isn't being subtle. Probably a distraction, Nyx warned. Look for secondary objectives. Even as she spoke, alarm bells rang from the village center. Kakashi appeared via body flicker, his expression grim behind his mask. We've got intruders, he reported. Not human. They're heading for the Hokage's vault. The scroll collection, Tsunade realized. Including the Sage of Six Paths' original writings on the nature of chakra. Naruto understood immediately. He wants information on how chakra relates to cosmic energy, how the power of this dimension might be harvested or controlled. Divide and conquer, Nyx said grimly. The rift requires immediate attention, but so does the vault. We split up, Naruto decided. I'll handle the rift. Nyx, Hemera, can you stop whatever's raiding the vault? The goddesses exchanged looks of surprise. You would trust cosmic entities to protect your village's secrets? Hemera asked. I trust you, Naruto said simply. Both of you. Something passed between the three of them, recognition of how their relationship had evolved beyond initial caution to genuine alliance and something more personal that remained undefined. We will protect what you value, Nyx promised, her silver eyes holding his gaze momentarily before she dissolved into shadow, streaking toward the village center. Don't take too long with that rift, Hemera added with a bright smile. I suspect the real fight's at the vault. She transformed into a beam of light, following Nyx's path. Alone before the entropy rift, Naruto centered himself, drawing on both his shinobi training and cosmic awareness. This wasn't just about power, it required precise understanding of how Thanatos had warped natural law to create accelerated decay. Reverse engineering a god's work, he muttered. No pressure. He extended his senses into the rift, careful not to touch the entropic energy directly. Inside, he found a twisted manipulation of temporal principles, not true time control as Chronos wielded, but a selective acceleration of breakdown processes. Clever, efficient, and unmistakably malevolent. Rather than trying to close it directly, Naruto began introducing counter-frequency energy, not life force exactly, but the cosmic principle of renewal that balanced natural entropy. Where the rift pushed decay, he introduced rejuvenation, creating a harmonic cancellation effect. The process required immense concentration, especially when containing the backlash as the energies neutralized each other. Sweat beaded on his forehead despite the cool forest air. Gradually, the rift's sickly glow diminished, its edges contracting as Naruto's counter-energy forced it closed. With a final push of power, he sealed the breach completely, reality snapping back into proper alignment with an audible thunderclap. The forest fell silent for a moment before birds cautiously resumed singing. The sections affected by accelerated decay remained, dead trees, aged earth, but the process had stopped. Naruto allowed himself a moment of satisfaction before sensing a massive energy surge from the village center. He created a portal instantly, stepping through to find chaos at the Hokage Tower. The vault had been breached. Around it fought beings of shadow and death, Thanatos servants, against Konoha's elite shinobi bolstered by the powers of night and day. Nyx moved like living darkness, enveloping death beings in star-filled shadow that nullified their existence. Hemera blazed with battle light, her radiance burning away corruption wherever it touched. At the center of the conflict stood a figure Naruto recognized immediately, Thanatos himself, holding a collection of ancient scrolls. The death god's gaunt form seemed to absorb light around it, creating a zone of cold emptiness that wilted plant life and caused metals to brittle and crack. "Creator," Thanatos acknowledged, voice gentle despite the destruction around him. "How convenient that you join us. I was just collecting research materials." "Those don't belong to you," Naruto said, power gathering around him as his dual nature synchronized in response to threat. His eyes shifted to star-filled voids while his body maintained human form. "Ownership is such a limited concept," Thanatos replied. "Knowledge should flow freely, don't you think? Especially knowledge about the fascinating energy system you helped create in this dimension." Naruto stepped forward. "Put them back, and we can discuss knowledge exchange properly. Continue this attack, and we'll have a different conversation entirely." Thanatos sighed, a sound like wind through a graveyard. "Always the diplomat first. That humanity weakens you, creator. The original consciousness would have simply unmade me for overstepping." "That's where you're wrong," Naruto countered. "My humanity doesn't weaken my divinity, it gives it purpose. The original consciousness created without understanding the value of what it made. I create with full awareness of what existence means to the existing." He gestured, and reality solidified around Thanatos, cutting off escape routes through dimensional shortcuts. "Last chance. Return what you've taken." For answer, Thanatos unleashed his full power, a wave of entropic force that aged everything it touched toward heat death. Naruto countered with a barrier of creative energy, the opposing forces meeting in spectacular collision that shook the tower to its foundations. Nyx and Hemera moved to flank Thanatos, boxing him in with darkness and light. The death god snarled, abandoning his usual calm as he found himself genuinely challenged. "3 against 1, he hissed. "How very mortal of you, creator. Relying on allies rather than your own supreme power." "Another lesson from humanity," Naruto replied, maintaining the energy barrier while preparing a more complex counterattack. "We're stronger together than alone." What followed was a battle on multiple levels of reality simultaneously. On the physical plane, jutsus and divine energies clashed, destroying parts of the tower and surrounding buildings. On deeper levels, the combatants manipulated fundamental forces, each trying to establish dominance over the other's domain. Konoha's shinobi wisely retreated, recognizing a conflict beyond their scale. Only Tsunade remained nearby, coordinating evacuation while watching the cosmic entities battle with grim fascination. The fight reached critical intensity when Thanatos, realizing he couldn't prevail against all three opponents, detonated a death pulse, a spherical wave of entropic force designed to age all local life forms to dust instantly. Naruto, Nyx, and Hemera barely managed to contain it, their combined powers forming a trilateral barrier that absorbed the devastating attack. In the momentary distraction, Thanatos escaped through a rift too small and specific for them to follow, taking several scrolls with him. "Damn it!" Naruto cursed as the death god vanished. He got what he came for. "Not everything," Hemera said, holding up several scrolls she'd managed to wrest from him during the battle. "We saved the most critical texts." Nyx emerged from shadow form, her expression grave. This was a calculated move. Thanatos sought specific information about the relationship between human chakra and cosmic energy. "Why?" Tsunade asked, joining them as the dust settled. "What use is chakra theory to a death god?" "If I had to guess," Naruto said slowly, He's looking for a way to harvest or convert human spiritual energy on a massive scale. Chakra connects physical and spiritual essence in a way that doesn't exist in other dimensions. A cosmic battery, Nyx concluded. Or worse, a conversion mechanism to transform human spiritual energy directly into entropic force. Either way, it can't be good, Hemera added, her usual brightness dimmed by concern. The aftermath of the battle required significant cleanup. While Konoha's reconstruction teams addressed physical damage, Naruto and the goddesses repaired reality fractures caused by their cosmic-level conflict. Fortunately, casualties had been minimal, mostly injuries, with no deaths thanks to efficient evacuation. As evening fell, the three gathered on the Hokage monument overlooking the village. Repairs continued below, lights twinkling as work crews labored into the night. Thanatos won't stop with this, Nyx warned. He now knows we three are allied, but that knowledge will only drive him to seek greater power and more allies of his own. We need to take the initiative, Hemera suggested. Confront him in his own realm before he can fully implement whatever he's planning. Naruto stared out over his village thoughtfully. No. That's what he'd expect. We need information first, what exactly he's planning, who's allied with him, what vulnerabilities he might have. The strategic approach, Nyx noted with approval. Your human military training shows. The intelligence-gathering phase, Naruto confirmed. We can't just rush in against a god of death who's had millennia to prepare contingencies. So what do we do? Hemera asked. We go back to the divine realms, Naruto decided. Continue my training while gathering information. Strengthen our alliance with sympathetic deities. Prepare for the bigger confrontation that's coming. And this village? Nyx gestured to Konoha below them. Thanatos may target it again, knowing its importance to you. Naruto considered this problem seriously. I'll need to create protections beyond standard barriers. Something that prevents cosmic-level interference without my awareness. We can help with that, Hemera offered. A combined ward of day and night, anchored by your own essence as creator. Nothing could breach it without alerting all three of us instantly. The suggestion triggered something in Naruto's expanding consciousness, a memory of ancient protective methods used when the first dimensions were established. A trinity seal, he murmured. That's what I called it originally. 3 distinct powers interlinked in mutual protection. Nyx raised an eyebrow. You remember creating that? Just came to me, Naruto admitted. But it feels right. The Trinity creates perfect balance, void, darkness, and light supporting each other. It would require personal investment from each of us, Hemera cautioned. A portion of our essence bound to this location permanently. I'm willing, Naruto said immediately. This is my home. The goddesses exchanged meaningful glances before Nyx spoke. I also consent. What matters to you now matters to me as well. As do I, Hemera agreed, her radiance brightening. Besides, I've grown rather fond of this charming little village. So much life and determination. Naruto felt unexpected emotion at their willingness to bind themselves to protecting his home. Thank you. Both of you. For everything. The ritual to create the Trinity Seal took place at midnight, when the boundaries between cosmic and physical realms naturally thinned. Tsunade provided a secure location at the heart of the village, an ancient chamber beneath the Hokage monument that predated Konoha itself. The space hummed with potential as Naruto, Nyx, and Hemera arranged themselves in triangular formation. Between them, they constructed a model of Konoha in pure energy, every street, building, and natural feature represented in perfect miniature. I offer the foundation, Naruto began, channeling his essence, both human and divine, into the model. His energy formed the substrate upon which the village existed, connecting material reality to cosmic principle. I offer concealment, Nyx continued, her darkness flowing over and through Naruto's foundation, creating shadows and depths that hid the village from hostile cosmic perception. I offer illumination, Hemera completed, her light interweaving with both previous contributions, revealing precisely what should be seen while reinforcing the protections. As their energies combined, the model village began to pulse with power, synchronizing with the actual Konoha around them. The Trinity seal expanded outward, establishing an invisible boundary that encompassed the entire village and surrounding forests. When complete, the seal wasn't just a barrier but a fundamental statement woven into reality itself: this place exists under triple protection. To threaten it is to challenge Creator, night, and day simultaneously. No cosmic entity would take such a challenge lightly. The ritual completed, the three found themselves bound in a new way, their energies partially intermingled, each now constantly aware of the others at a fundamental level. It created an intimacy beyond physical proximity, a connection that transcended conventional relationship categories. "Well," Hemera said, breaking the silence that had fallen after the seal's completion. "That was intense." "An understatement," Nyx agreed, looking slightly discomposed for the first time since Naruto had met her. Naruto felt the connection clearly, a constant awareness of both goddesses now integrated into his consciousness. Their presence felt right, complementary to his own nature in ways he was only beginning to understand. "Thank you," he said again, knowing the words were inadequate for what they had given. "I've never had anyone willing to bind themselves to protecting my home like this." "The Trinity is an ancient and powerful configuration," Nyx explained, regaining her usual composure. "It establishes balance across fundamental cosmic forces. What we've done here goes beyond mere protection, we've created a nexus point that may prove significant in the coming conflict. And strengthened our connection in ways that will make our combined power greater than its separate parts," Hemera added, her eyes bright with fascinating possibilities. "Quite clever of your original consciousness to design such a system." Naruto rubbed the back of his neck sheepishly. "Wish I could take credit, but most of this is still coming back to me in fragments. I just knew it would work." "Your instincts connect to your original nature," Nyx observed. "Trust them." The following days brought increased training intensity as they prepared for inevitable confrontation with Thanatos. Naruto split his time between realms, mastering techniques from both goddesses while developing his own unique applications that combined human ingenuity with divine power. During a particularly demanding session in Hemera's realm, where Naruto practiced manifesting and manipulating entire ecosystems simultaneously, he finally asked the question that had been building in his mind. "Why are you both helping me so much? I mean, beyond the obvious fate of all existence stuff. You've both gone way beyond ally or teacher roles." Hemera paused her demonstration of photosynthesis acceleration, her expression becoming thoughtful. "An honest question deserves an honest answer. Initially, I was merely curious. The Creator incarnate as a human was unprecedented and fascinating. And now?" Naruto prompted when she hesitated. "Now I've come to value you, not just what you represent or what power you hold, but who you are. Your perspective changes how I see my own existence." Her light dimmed slightly in what appeared to be embarrassment. "That sounds grander than I intended. Simply put, I enjoy your company and believe in what you're trying to achieve." Later that same day, in the Night Realm, Naruto posed the same question to Nyx as they practiced perception across multiple dimensions simultaneously. The goddess of night was characteristically more measured in her response. "Divine existence spans eons. Novelty becomes precious when you've witnessed countless cycles of creation and destruction. You represent something truly new, a fusion of cosmic awareness and human experience. So I'm just an interesting experiment?" Naruto asked, surprisingly hurt by the idea. "No," Nyx corrected firmly. "You began as an anomaly worthy of study, perhaps. But you've become..." She searched for appropriate words. "You've become someone whose continued existence I personally value, independent of cosmic considerations." Coming from the normally reserved night goddess, this admission carried significant weight. Naruto felt the connection between them strengthen further through the Trinity bond they now shared. "I'm sensing a pattern here," he said with a small smile. "Seems like I'm having an effect on primordial goddesses." Don't become overconfident, Nyx advised, though a hint of amusement touched her expression. We remain cosmic forces beyond human comprehension. Yeah, but you're also people, Naruto countered. With thoughts, feelings, perspectives. That's what my human side helps me see that the original consciousness couldn't. This observation seemed to strike Nyx deeply. She regarded him with new consideration. Perhaps that is why you chose human incarnation. Not merely to experience limitation, but to gain the capacity for connection that transcends power. Their conversation was interrupted by a cosmic tremor, a disturbance felt across dimensions. Both recognized it immediately. Thanatos moves, Nyx said grimly. And not subtly. They transported immediately to the dimensional nexus where the disruption originated, finding Hemera already present. Before them stretched a horrifying sight, an entire realm in the process of accelerated death. What had once been a vibrant dimensional pocket housing a unique civilization now withered under entropic assault. Buildings crumbled, plants decayed, and the indigenous population, beings of crystalline light, dulled and darkened as their life force drained away. He's testing his new capabilities, Hemera realized, horror evident in her voice. Using what he learned from those scrolls to enhance his entropic field. And making sure we notice, Naruto added grimly. This is a demonstration of power, a warning. They entered the dying realm cautiously, extending their combined awareness to analyze the entropy field. It operated on principles that merged cosmic death energy with something new, a structured approach that resembled chakra circulation. He's adapted the chakra network concept, Naruto observed. Created an artificial system that channels and amplifies death energy with the efficiency of a living organism. Can we stop it? Hemera asked, already attempting to infuse renewal energy into the decaying structures around them. Not completely, Nyx determined after careful analysis. The process has progressed too far. But we can save the population if we act quickly. Together, they established a counterfield, Naruto providing the structural framework based on his understanding of chakra networks, Nyx contributing stabilizing darkness that slowed the entropy spread, and Hemera infusing vital energy that preserved the remaining life force. It was enough to evacuate the crystal beings to a neighboring dimension, though their homeland couldn't be saved. As the last refugees crossed to safety, the realm collapsed entirely, imploding into a singularity that winked out of existence. An entire dimension, Naruto said quietly, watching the empty space where it had been. Just to send a message. To demonstrate capacity, Nyx corrected. Thanatos wants us to know he can now destroy on a scale previously impossible for him. But why? Hemera questioned. What does he ultimately want? Even a god of death requires existence in order to end it. Control, came a new voice. They turned to find Kronos approaching through a temporal gateway. The time god looked grave, his usual age-shifting appearance stabilized into mature form. Thanatos doesn't seek to end all existence, Kronos explained, but to control the cycle of creation and destruction itself. To determine what ends and what continues according to his will alone. You knew about this? Naruto challenged. Is that why you were so determined to extract my power? To stop him? Kronos had the grace to look discomfort. I suspected his ambitions but lacked proof. My concern about your awakening was genuine, uncontrolled power at your level could indeed destabilize reality. But yes, I also feared Thanatos might take advantage of the disruption. And now? Hemera pressed. Now I acknowledge that your integrated approach may be our best defense, Kronos admitted reluctantly. The Trinity seal you established demonstrates control and innovation beyond what extraction would have achieved. Are you offering alliance? Nyx asked directly. Conditional cooperation, Kronos clarified. I still have reservations about the Creator's methods, but Thanatos represents the more immediate threat. Naruto considered the time god carefully, sensing genuine concern beneath his usual aloof manner. We'll take whatever help we can get. But no more games, no more secret agendas. We need transparency if we're going to work together. Kronos inclined his head in agreement. As you wish, Creator. Or do you prefer Naruto in this form? Naruto's fine, he replied, surprised by the gesture of respect. With Kronos' information and resources added to their own, a clearer picture of Thanatos' plan emerged. The Death God had been systematically harvesting spiritual energy from multiple dimensions, concentrating it through adapted chakra principles to exponentially increase his entropic power. His ultimate goal appeared to be forcing a premature end to the current cosmic cycle, the natural progression from creation through existence to eventual heat death and renewal. By accelerating this cycle artificially, Thanatos would position himself to control the subsequent rebirth, essentially usurping the Creator's original role. He wants my job, Naruto summarized after reviewing the evidence. Or what would have been my job if I hadn't chosen incarnation? And with the Creator consciousness fragmented and only partially reintegrated in your current form, he sees opportunity, Kronos confirmed. He believes he can overcome your power if he strikes before you fully recover all aspects of yourself. This sobering assessment led to a war council in Nyx's realm, where representatives from multiple cosmic factions gathered to plan response. Gods and primordial forces who had been neutral or even hostile to Naruto's integration now recognized the greater threat posed by Thanatos' ambition. Throughout these strategic sessions, Naruto found himself increasingly reliant on the constant presence of Nyx and Hemera through their trinity bond. Their complementary perspectives helped him process overwhelming cosmic information while maintaining his human center. In turn, his unique fusion of human and divine approaches brought fresh strategies that traditional cosmic thinking wouldn't have considered. The bond deepened with each challenge, each planning session, each moment of shared purpose. Though none of them spoke directly about how their relationship was evolving beyond alliance, all three felt it, a connection that transcended conventional categories. The night before they planned to confront Thanatos directly, Naruto stood on a balcony of Nyx's palace, looking out at the star-filled void. The cosmos seemed simultaneously vast beyond comprehension and intimately connected to his being. Hemera found him there, her daylight presence creating a fascinating contrast with the night realm around them. Troubled thoughts before battle, she asked, joining him at the balcony's edge. Just reflecting, Naruto replied. A week ago, I was a shinobi worried about becoming Hokage someday. Now I'm planning cosmic war against a death god while remembering that I apparently created existence itself. It's a lot to process. Hemera laughed softly. I imagine so. Though you've adapted with remarkable resilience. That's me, adaptable, Naruto said with a wry smile. Had to be, growing up as I did. Your human experiences shaped you powerfully, she observed. The original consciousness could create galaxies but couldn't understand friendship or loss or love. And now I'm caught between worlds, Naruto mused. Not fully human anymore, not fully the cosmic void either. Perhaps that's not being caught, Hemera suggested. Perhaps it's being liberated to be both simultaneously. Naruto considered this perspective. I like that view better. They stood in comfortable silence for a moment before Hemera spoke again. Whatever happens tomorrow, I wanted you to know that our alliance, our connection, has changed how I perceive my own existence. For countless ages, I simply was day, fulfilling my function in cosmic balance. Now I find myself questioning, growing, feeling in ways I never expected. Is that good or bad? Naruto asked, turning to face her. Wonderfully disruptive, she replied with a radiant smile. Which seems appropriate, given your influence. Before Naruto could respond, Nyx materialized from the shadows nearby. I see great minds think alike. I also sought you out before tomorrow's confrontation. The trinity complete, Hemera noted, making room for her mother at the balcony. As it should be. Nyx's silver eyes studied them both. I've been monitoring Thanatos' movements. He consolidates his forces in the realm of cessation, his personal domain where his power is strongest. So we'll be fighting on his home turf, Naruto said. Not ideal. Necessary, Nyx countered. We must confront him directly before more realms fall victim to his entropy acceleration. I know, Naruto sighed. Just noting the tactical disadvantage. Which we offset through our trinity bond, Hemera pointed out optimistically. Our combined power operates on principles Thanatos cannot fully counter, especially with your human-divine integration adding unpredictability. Naruto looked between the two goddesses, one radiating golden light even in the heart of the night realm, the other elegant darkness with eyes like moonlight. Both had become essential to him in ways that transcended strategic alliance. Whatever happens tomorrow, he said seriously, I want you both to know that meeting you, working with you, connecting with you, it's been the most amazing part of this whole cosmic awakening thing. Such human sentimentality, Nyx observed, but her tone held warmth rather than criticism. Precisely what makes him unique, Hemera added with evident affection. The three stood together, looking out at the cosmos, their energies mingling through the trinity bond in harmonious resonance. Whatever challenges tomorrow might bring, they would face them as something new in the cosmic order, a unified trinity of void, night and day, each strengthening the others. Morning arrived, a conceptual dawn rather than literal in Nyx's timeless realm. Allied cosmic forces gathered at predetermined coordinates, presenting an impressive array of power rarely unified in cosmic history. Kronos led a contingent of temporal entities, their forms shifting between past, present, and future states simultaneously. Gaia brought Earth forces from countless worlds, beings of stone, soil, and planetary consciousness. Representatives from fire, water, air, and countless other elemental domains stood ready. At the center of this gathering, Naruto, Nyx, and Hemera finished final preparations. Through their trinity bond, they synchronized their energies to unprecedented levels, creating a unified field that allowed them to function as both individuals and a single entity simultaneously. Remember, Naruto addressed the assembled forces, his voice carrying easily across dimensional boundaries, our goal isn't destruction but containment. Thanatos has legitimate cosmic function when properly balanced. We're restoring order, not seeking vengeance. This approach surprised many of the older cosmic entities, who were accustomed to conflicts ending with the complete subjugation or destruction of the losing side. The concept of restoration over elimination reflected Naruto's human influence on cosmic justice. Kronos opened the primary portal to the realm of cessation, a massive gateway that would allow their combined forces to enter Thanatos' domain simultaneously. Beyond it swirled a dimension of faded colors and decaying matter, where everything existed in its final stages before dissolution. Once we cross, Kronos warned, Thanatos will have advantage. The very fabric of his realm accelerates endings of all kinds. Be prepared for your powers to wane the longer we remain. Naruto nodded, then turned to address a final concern. What about Konoha? If this is a trap to draw us away. The Trinity seal protects it, Hemera assured him. And I've stationed aspects of myself to monitor. We'll know instantly if any threat approaches. Then let's end this, Naruto said with determination. Together. They crossed the threshold into Death's domain, their combined power creating a protected bubble of stable reality around them. Immediately, they felt the oppressive nature of the realm, a constant pull toward conclusion, dissolution, finale. The landscape stretched before them like a world eternally caught in late autumn turning to winter, beauty tinged with melancholy, vibrant colors fading at the edges. The sky overhead hung heavy with clouds that never quite rained, perpetually on the verge of release. He knows we're here, Nyx said quietly. This entire realm is an extension of his consciousness. As if confirming her words, the ground before them shifted, earth rippling like water to form a path leading toward a distant structure, a palace of bone and shadow that dominated the horizon. Subtle invitation, Hemera noted dryly. Or obvious trap, Kronos added. Either way, it's where we need to go, Naruto decided. Our forces should spread out, approach from multiple vectors. The Trinity will take the direct approach, we're the ones he really wants to face. The allies dispersed according to plan, moving in careful formation through the decaying landscape. Naruto, Nyx, and Hemera proceeded down the offered path, their combined protective field pushing back against the entropic influence that tried to erode their powers. They had traveled perhaps halfway to the palace when the attack came, not direct confrontation, but reality itself turning against them. The path beneath their feet transformed into quicksand composed of temporal decay. The air thickened into miasma that accelerated aging in living tissue. The very light around them shifted to frequencies that damaged perception. Realm manipulation, Nyx identified, her darkness expanding to neutralize the harmful light frequencies. He's using his home domain advantage. Hemera countered the miasma with purifying daylight, while Naruto restructured the ground beneath them back into stable matter. Through their trinity bond, they coordinated these efforts effortlessly, each compensating for areas the others couldn't immediately address. The landscape responded by becoming more aggressive, dead trees animated by necrotic energy rising from the ground, clouds condensing into acid rain, distant mountains reshaping into artillery that fired entropy projectiles toward them. He's not holding back, Naruto observed as they defended against these escalating attacks. This is full Realm Lord power. Yet he himself remains hidden, Hemera noted, incinerating a wave of death trees with concentrated daylight. These are merely automated defenses. Testing our capabilities, Nyx suggested, her shadows absorbing entropy projectiles before they could reach their targets. Learning our strategies before direct confrontation. They pressed forward despite the realm's increasing hostility, their trinity field gradually expanding rather than contracting as Thanatos had likely expected. Where the death god's power sought to accelerate endings, their combined essence brought balance, not fighting entropy directly, but incorporating it into a natural cycle rather than a premature conclusion. In the distance, they observed their allies engaging similar defensive measures across the realm. Chronos' temporal forces created bubbles of accelerated time that burned through attacks before they fully formed. Gaia's Earth aspects established growth zones where decay reversed into renewal. As they neared the palace, the ground split open before them, revealing a chasm that dropped away into infinite darkness. From its depths rose Thanatos himself, no longer in his restrained humanoid form but expanded to his true cosmic aspect, a vast entity of absolute finality, composed of ending itself. Creator, his voice resonated at fundamental frequencies. You bring war to my domain. Restoration, not war, Naruto replied, his own voice amplified through the trinity bond to match Thanatos' power. Your function has value, but you've exceeded your boundaries. We're here to re-establish balance. Balance? Contempt edged the death god's response. You abandoned your responsibility to maintain cosmic order. In your absence, I expanded to fill the void you left. Now you return in weakened form and presume to judge me? Not alone, Naruto corrected, drawing strength from Nyx and Hemera through their bond. And not weakened. Changed. Evolved. I see now what the original consciousness couldn't, the value of life experienced rather than merely created. Thanatos expanded further, his form blotting out the sky overhead. Your sentiment blinds you. Creation without purpose is meaningless. Existence without direction is chaos. I bring the ultimate purpose, conclusion, completion, finality. On your terms alone, Hemera challenged. True balance requires multiple perspectives. The cycle needs both creation and dissolution, Nyx added. Neither dominating the other. Thanatos' attention shifted to the goddesses, his cosmic form rippling with something like amusement. The Trinity speaks as one. How touching. But futile. Without further warning, he struck, not with physical attack but with pure conceptual force, the fundamental idea of ending directed at them with the full power of a primordial cosmic entity. It hit their trinity field like a tsunami hitting a shoreline, testing the limits of their combined resistance. Naruto felt the attack trying to conclude his existence on multiple levels simultaneously, his physical form, his consciousness, his connections, his future possibilities, all targeted for immediate termination. Only the Trinity bond prevented immediate dissolution as Nyx's aspect absorbed temporal impact while Hemera's reinforced continuation. They countered with unified response, not merely defensive but actively reconstructive. Where Thanatos imposed endings, they established cycles. Where he accelerated entropy, they introduced renewal. Not fighting death directly, but contextualizing it within larger patterns of existence. The clash of fundamental forces created spectacular effects throughout the realm. Reality fractured along conceptual fault lines, revealing the cosmic scaffolding that supported dimensional integrity. Waves of potential and probability crashed against shores of actualized existence. Time itself stuttered and looped in proximity to the conflict. Allied forces seized the opportunity created by Thanatos' focus on the Trinity, pressing forward to dismantle the networks of enhanced entropy he had established throughout his realm. Kronos led precision strikes against temporal acceleration engines. Gaia's aspects uprooted and neutralized decay propagation systems. Thanatos roared in fury as he felt his extended power structures collapsing, his cosmic form condensing as he redirected energy to defense. You cannot undo eons of preparation in a single battle. Watch us, Naruto replied, confidence growing as their strategy proved effective. The Death God changed tactics, targeting the Trinity bond directly. He sent specialized dissolution energy designed to sever connections between conscious entities, aiming to isolate each of them from the other's support. For a dangerous moment, Naruto felt the bond fluctuate as Thanatos' attack found resonant frequencies that disrupted their synchronization. Doubt crept in, artificial but powerful, making him question the stability of his connections to Nyx and Hemera. He targets our bond, Nyx warned, her voice seeming suddenly distant despite their proximity. Do not let him separate us. Remember what grounds us, Hemera added, her light dimming under the assault. Not just power, but understanding. Connection. Naruto reached deeper, past the doubt to the core truth he discovered through this journey. Existence gained meaning through relationship, through the connections between beings rather than merely through their individual consciousness. Our bond isn't just power, he realized aloud, strengthening the Trinity field through renewed commitment. It's perspective. It's what I was missing as the original consciousness, authentic connection to others. This recognition flowed through their bond, reinforcing it beyond Thanatos' ability to disrupt. The Trinity stabilized, then strengthened, their combined essence expanding outward in a wave that pushed back against the Death God's influence throughout his realm. Thanatos faltered momentarily, surprised by the resilience of their connection. In that moment of uncertainty, Naruto pressed the advantage, drawing on both his human strategic training and divine creative power. Now, he called to his allies through cosmic awareness. Full convergence. Across the realm, allied forces executed their coordinated attack, not against Thanatos directly, but against the adapted chakra network he had constructed to amplify his power. Kronos froze key nodes in temporal stasis. Gaia severed connections with precise earthen spikes. Elemental forces disrupted energy flows at critical junctions. As his artificial power amplification system collapsed, Thanatos shrieked in rage and desperation. His cosmic form contracted, condensing back toward his core essence as extended capabilities failed him. The Trinity moved forward in perfect synchronization, establishing a containing field around the diminishing Death God. Not to destroy or imprison, but to restore, to re-establish proper boundaries around his legitimate cosmic function while removing the accumulated excesses. Your domain is death, not all endings, Naruto stated, the Trinity speaking through him. Your role is transition, not termination. Your purpose is completion, not domination. With each declaration, the containing field tightened, stripping away layers of accumulated power until only Thanatos' original essence remained, still immense by most standards, but returned to its proper cosmic proportion. You cannot unmake what I've become, Thanatos hissed, his gentle voice returning as his excessive power dissipated. I have tasted greater purpose. I will find it again. Not while the Trinity stands, Hemera replied with quiet certainty. Not while balance is maintained, Nyx added. Not while I remember what existence means to the existing, Naruto completed. Together, they finalized the restoration, not destruction or punishment, but realignment. Thanatos, returned to his proper cosmic role, would continue to oversee natural transitions from life to death, but could no longer accelerate entropy beyond its natural rate or extend his influence to realms beyond his domain. As the battle concluded, the realm of cessation itself transformed, not eliminated, but rebalanced. What had been a dimension of pure decay became a place of completion, where endings were honored but not accelerated. The perpetual autumn gained beauty rather than merely melancholy, a necessary phase in larger cycles. Exhausted but victorious, the Trinity and their allies regrouped as Thanatos retreated to the depths of his realm to recover and adjust to his restored limitations. "It is done," Kronos declared, genuine respect in his usually aloof manner. "The cosmic balance stabilizes. Already, the fractures throughout reality begin to heal themselves. Not through destruction, but restoration," Gaia observed with approval. A new approach to cosmic conflict. "The Creator's human influence," Hemera explained proudly. "Understanding the value of rehabilitation over elimination." Naruto, standing between Nyx and Hemera with their energies still mingled through the Trinity bond, felt simultaneously exhausted and exhilarated. The battle had demanded everything they had, but confirmed his emerging understanding of his dual nature's purpose. "What happens now?" he asked as allied forces began returning to their respective realms. "Now the real work begins," Nyx replied. "Restoration requires ongoing maintenance. The balance we've established must be actively preserved." "And your awakening continues," Hemera added. "You've reclaimed significant portions of your original consciousness, but integration remains incomplete." Naruto nodded, feeling the truth of their words. Though his power and awareness had expanded dramatically, he sensed vast regions of his original nature still waiting to be rediscovered and integrated. "One step at a time," he said with characteristic determination. "First, I need to check on Konoha, make sure everything's okay there." "Always returning to your human connections," Nyx observed, not critically but with growing understanding. "They anchor you in ways cosmic awareness cannot." "They remind me why it all matters," Naruto confirmed. "Why creation deserves protection, why balance needs maintenance, because real people living real lives depend on it." Hemera created a portal of pure daylight. "Then let us return to your village. The Trinity should celebrate this victory together." Nyx formed a complementary portal of deepest night beside it. "And plan for challenges yet to come. Thanatos may be contained, but other cosmic forces will react to the new balance we've established." Naruto looked between them, feeling the Trinity bond pulse with shared purpose and deepening connection. Whatever came next, they would face it together, void, night, and day in perfect balance. "Konoha it is," he agreed with a smile. "I could really go for some ramen right about now." The goddesses exchanged amused glances at this very human response to cosmic victory. "Some things never change," Hemera laughed. "Nor should they," Nyx added with rare warmth. Together, the Trinity stepped through their combined portal, returning to the village hidden in the leaves, a small place in the vast cosmos, but central to the new balance they had created together. Chapter 3, The Void Reborn. Naruto woke to sunlight streaming through his apartment window, momentarily disoriented by the ordinary surroundings. After weeks of cosmic realms and divine battles, waking up in his own bed felt strangely surreal. He stretched, feeling the unique sensation of being simultaneously in one place and everywhere. His consciousness expanded beyond human limits while his body remained firmly anchored in physical reality. Through the Trinity bond, he sensed Nyx and Hemera in their respective realms, the goddess of night settling into restful darkness as her domain temporarily receded, the goddess of day awakening to full radiance as hers ascended. Their cyclical nature had become familiar to him, a comforting rhythm in his increasingly complex existence. Morning, he greeted them through the bond, sending a pulse of warm awareness. Hemera's response came as immediate brightness, a sensation like sunrise in his mind. Nyx's acknowledgement followed more subtly, cool shadow offering respite from Hemera's intensity. 3 days had passed since their victory over Thanatos. 3 days of relative peace as the cosmic balance stabilized and reality fractures healed themselves across dimensions. 3 days of debriefing allies, reinforcing boundaries, and monitoring the contained death god for signs of renewed ambition. 3 days wasn't much, but Naruto had learned to appreciate moments of calm when they came. A knock at his door interrupted his morning reflection. Sakura stood outside, looking slightly uncomfortable, as most of his friends did now when faced with the strange new reality of who and what Naruto had become. "Hokage wants to see you," she said, then hesitated before adding, "How are you doing with everything?" Naruto appreciated the genuine concern behind her awkwardness. "Still me, Sakura. Just with some extra cosmic baggage." "Right," she nodded, not entirely convinced. "It's just weird to think that my teammate who couldn't even master basic clone jutsu without failing is actually the, creator of everything." "Tell me about it," Naruto laughed. "Trust me, I'm still trying to wrap my head around it too." The moment of normalcy felt good, a reminder that despite his expanding divinity, his human connections remained real and valuable. At the Hokage Tower, Tsunade waited with Kakashi and Shikamaru, maps and reports spread across her desk. The windows were open to the bright morning, Konoha bustling with activity below as villagers went about their daily lives, blissfully unaware of cosmic wars and primordial forces. "The Trinity seal is working perfectly," Tsunade said without preamble as Naruto entered. "No reality disturbances within village boundaries for 3 consecutive days." "Good to hear," Naruto replied, checking the seal through his expanded awareness. The interwoven energies of void, night, and day hummed in perfect harmony around Konoha, invisible to normal perception but blindingly obvious to his divine senses. "We've been discussing long-term security implications," Kakashi explained, gesturing to the maps. "If gods and cosmic entities are now part of our threat assessment, we need updated protocols. Most cosmic forces won't bother with Earth," Naruto assured them. "It's just one small dimension among countless others. The recent attention was because of me specifically." "Still," Shikamaru countered, "prudent planning suggests we should prepare for worst-case scenarios. If you're what you are, there might be other surprises out there we haven't accounted for." Naruto couldn't argue with that logic. "Fair point. I'll help set up an early warning system tied to the Trinity seal. Anything with cosmic-level power approaching Earth will trigger notifications." They spent the morning establishing these new security measures, Naruto translating cosmic principles into terms shinobi could understand and implement, the others contributing tactical expertise from their human perspective. The collaboration felt productive, a bridge between his dual natures. As they worked, Naruto noticed Shikamaru watching him with analytical focus. "Something on your mind?" he finally asked the shadow user. Shikamaru tilted his head thoughtfully. "Just observing. You move differently now. Speak differently too. More deliberate. Is that bad?" "No, just different. Like you're constantly calculating how much pressure to apply so you don't accidentally break reality." Naruto blinked, surprised by the accuracy of the assessment. "That's exactly what I'm doing, actually. Everything feels both more solid and more fragile at the same time." "Must be troublesome," Shikamaru said with his characteristic understatement, "being responsible for existence itself." The casual way he framed the cosmic burden made Naruto laugh, a genuine, human sound that momentarily pushed back the weight of divine awareness. These moments kept him grounded, reminded him why his human perspective mattered. After the meeting, Naruto walked through the village, greeting people he'd known all his life. Some responded with the same casual familiarity as always. Others kept respectful distance, still uncertain how to interact with someone they'd witnessed commanding the void itself. He understood their hesitation. How do you treat a person who contains the consciousness that created reality? It would take time for everyone to adjust, including himself. At Ichiraku, Tucci greeted him with the same cheerful welcome he'd always offered, placing a steaming bowl of ramen before him without having to ask his order. World-creating business must work up an appetite, the chef commented with a wink. You have no idea, Naruto replied gratefully, savoring the simple, perfect flavors that cosmic ambrosia couldn't match. Halfway through his meal, his awareness expanded suddenly as familiar energies approached Earth's dimensional boundary. Through the Trinity bond, he felt Nyx and Hemera arriving simultaneously, unusual outside their training schedule. His chopsticks paused midway to his mouth. Something had changed. Leaving payment for his unfinished meal, Naruto stepped into an alley and opened a small portal, slipping through reality to meet the goddesses at Earth's edge. They awaited him in the dimensional buffer zone, the thin membrane separating physical reality from cosmic void. Nyx's expression held uncharacteristic urgency, while Hemera's usual radiance seemed dimmed with concern. What's happened? Naruto asked immediately. Multiple dimensional breaches, Nyx reported. 17 in total, scattered across different reality sectors. Void incursions, Hemera added. But not random. Coordinated, strategic. Thanatos again? Naruto asked, though something felt different about this threat. Nyx shook her head. Not death energy. Pure void. Nothingness consuming something. The Void Eaters, Naruto realized. But we contain them. Established boundaries. These are different, Hemera explained. More evolved. They've developed intelligence beyond instinctual hunger. They communicate, coordinate, plan. Show me, Naruto said, his casual demeanor shifting to focused determination. Together, they traveled through higher dimensions to witness the breaches firsthand. What they found confirmed the goddess's report and worse, the Void Eaters had indeed evolved, no longer mindlessly consuming reality but strategically erasing specific cosmic structures. They're targeting foundational points, Naruto observed as they watched a massive void entity systematically dismantling a dimensional nexus. Load-bearing structures in reality's architecture. If enough fail, entire sectors of existence could collapse, Nyx confirmed. Creating chain reactions through connected dimensions. Naruto studied the attackers carefully, sensing something familiar in their methodology. These aren't acting on instinct or random hunger. Someone's directing them. Someone who understands cosmic architecture. But who could command the Void Eaters? Hemera wondered. They answer only to primal chaos itself. The answer hit Naruto with sudden clarity. Or to the consciousness that first emerged from that chaos. They're responding to an aspect of me, or what I was before. Impossible, Nyx said immediately. Your consciousness is here, integrated in your current form. Most of it, Naruto agreed. But remember, I fragmented myself when I chose incarnation. Dispersed aspects of my power and awareness throughout creation. What if some fragment remained connected to the void itself? What if it's awakening now in response to my own reintegration? The possibility sent a chill through all three of them. If Naruto was right, they faced a corrupted aspect of the Creator himself, one that remembered only chaos and saw ordered reality as a mistake to be corrected. We need to confirm this theory, Hemera said practically. If it's true, understanding the nature of this fragment becomes crucial to stopping it. The Archive of Ages might contain records, Nyx suggested. The first fragmentation was documented, though incompletely. They traveled immediately to Nyx's realm, to the vast library containing cosmic history. Unlike their previous visits, the archive seemed disturbed, books and scrolls shifting positions nervously, information reorganizing itself as if responding to existential threat. Even knowledge itself senses danger, Hemera observed as records floated toward them unbidden. The texts confirmed Naruto's suspicion. During the original creator's self-fragmentation, not all aspects had been equally distributed. A significant portion remained with the void itself, not as active consciousness but as potential, a seed that might germinate under the right conditions. My awakening provided those conditions, Naruto realized as they studied the ancient records. As I reclaim my divine nature, this void fragment awakens in response, like an echo or mirror image. But twisted, Nyx added. Where you seek integration of divine power with human experience, this fragment remembers only the void's original state before creation. It wants to return everything to primordial chaos, Hemera concluded. To unmake what was made. The implications were staggering. This wasn't merely a cosmic entity with ambition like Thanatos. This was a fundamental force that viewed reality itself as a deviation to be corrected, and it wielded power comparable to Naruto's own. We need to act quickly, Naruto decided. Contain the immediate breaches, then find the source, the void fragment itself. This will require more than just the three of us, Nyx cautioned. Even our trinity cannot be everywhere at once. Then we gather allies, Naruto said. Everyone with stake in reality's continuation. Cosmic forces, gods, even mortal champions. A multidimensional defense force, Hemera agreed. Kronos would be valuable, his temporal control could slow the void incursions. Gaia and the elemental forces can reinforce dimensional boundaries, Nyx added. Even Thanatos might contribute, despite our recent conflict. Oblivion threatens his domain as much as any other. Naruto nodded, plans forming with both divine insight and human strategic thinking. I'll return to Konoha first, warn them and gather my most capable friends. Mortals might seem insignificant in cosmic war, but their perspective and adaptability could prove crucial. Especially those familiar with your human aspect, Hemera agreed. They know part of you the void fragment doesn't. They separated with purpose, Nyx to contact cosmic allies, Hemera to establish monitoring of all active breaches, and Naruto to prepare Earth's defenders for what might be the final battle for existence itself. Back in Konoha, Naruto called an emergency meeting with Tsunade and the village's elite jonin. Explaining cosmic war to shinobi trained for earthly conflict presented challenges, but he found ways to translate the threat into terms they understood. Think of reality as a massive structure, he explained as they gathered in the Hokage's strategy room. The Void Eaters are targeting support pillars. If enough collapse, the entire building falls, not just our world, but all worlds connected to it. And we're supposed to fight beings that eat reality itself? Kiba asked skeptically. What exactly are we meant to do against that? Your chakra is uniquely effective against void energy, Naruto replied. It contains both physical and spiritual essence combined, something the void cannot simply consume. Our jutsu will work against these things. Sakura clarified. Better than most weapons from other dimensions, yes. Chakra exists at the intersection of material and immaterial, a blind spot in the void's hunger. This revelation shifted the mood from skeptical to determined. Shinobi understood impossible odds and adapted accordingly. So what's the plan? Shikamaru asked, already analyzing tactical options. Multi-layered defense, Naruto explained, creating a three-dimensional model of interconnected dimensions in the center of the room. Cosmic forces reinforce major boundaries. Gods defend nexus points. Specialized teams address individual breaches. Where do we fit? Kakashi inquired. 2 objectives, Naruto said. First, a defensive team remains here to protect Earth if containment fails elsewhere. Second, a strike team accompanies me to confront the source directly. The void fragment, Tsunade said, having grasped the true nature of their enemy. Your, what? Evil twin. More like my shadow, Naruto corrected. A part of what I was that remembers only emptiness, not purpose. It doesn't understand why I created in the first place. And we help you fight it because. Kiba pressed. Because you understand what I gained by being human, Naruto answered simply. You represent everything the void fragment doesn't comprehend, connection, growth, bonds between people. That perspective may prove decisive. The planning continued into the night, identifying Konoha's strongest ninja for the strike team, those with experience fighting alongside Naruto, who understood his methods and values. Kakashi, Sakura, Shikamaru, and others with complementary abilities who could adapt to cosmic battlefield conditions. Through the Trinity bond, Naruto maintained continuous communication with Nyx and Hemera, coordinating their respective efforts across dimensions. Reports flowed in, Kronos committing his temporal forces, Gaia reinforcing reality's foundations, even Thanatos grudgingly offering support against the greater threat of total oblivion. By dawn, the Allied response took shape, a complex, multi-layered defense of existence itself, with the Trinity at its center and layers of specialized forces extending outward like ripples. As preparations finalized, Naruto stood atop the Hokage monument, looking out over the village that had shaped his human identity. Through divine perception, he simultaneously observed cosmic forces positioning throughout reality and void breaches expanding despite containment efforts. Nyx and Hemera joined him there, materializing from shadow and light respectively. Their presence completed the Trinity, strengthening his resolve. Initial containment proceeds, Nyx reported, but the breaches grow faster than we can seal them. The fragment gains power with each success. We've located its center, Hemera added. A null point between dimensions where void energy concentrates. That's where we'll find the fragment itself. Naruto nodded, feeling the weight of what lay ahead. Once we engage directly, it will bring everything it has against us. We need to be prepared for reality itself becoming weaponized. The Trinity has never failed, Hemera said with characteristic optimism. We've never faced an enemy with the Creator's own power, Nyx reminded her more soberly. Not alone, we haven't, Naruto said, gesturing to the village below where shinobi prepared for cosmic war with the same determination they'd bring to any mission. This time, we have perspectives the original consciousness never had, human ingenuity, divine wisdom, and everything in between. The three exchanged looks of resolve, the Trinity bond pulsing with shared purpose. It begins, Nyx said simply. Almost on cue, the sky above Konoha distorted, not cracking like previous anomalies, but bending inward as if massive pressure pushed against reality from outside. Similar distortions appeared worldwide, visible even to normal human perception as the fabric of their dimension strained under coordinated attack. The Trinity seal activated immediately, reinforcing Konoha's local reality and preventing immediate breach. Throughout the village, shinobi moved to predetermined positions, channeling chakra into the seal network Naruto had designed to extend the protection. It knows we've organized resistance, Hemera observed. This is a preemptive strike. Then we respond in kind, Naruto decided. No more defensive posture. We take the fight directly to the source. With a gesture, he opened a dimensional pathway large enough for the strike team to follow. Kakashi, Sakura, Shikamaru, and 7 other elite jonin gathered at the portal's edge, expressions determined despite the mind-bending vista visible through the opening. Remember the plan, Naruto told them. Your chakra shields you from direct void exposure, but stay within the protective field. Don't engage void eaters directly unless absolutely necessary. Your primary role is tactical support and reality anchoring. Reality anchoring, Kiba repeated skeptically. Just another Tuesday, right? Exactly, Naruto grinned, appreciating the humor in the face of cosmic threat. Just follow my lead and try not to unmake existence by accident. With that encouragingly casual send-off, the strike team entered the portal, following the Trinity into dimensions beyond human experience. They traveled through layers of reality, each more abstract than the last, until they reached a boundary zone where structured existence met primal chaos. The null point hung before them, not a place in conventional terms, but an absence where reality simply stopped. Around it swirled distorted spacetime, matter and energy breaking down into component possibilities before dissolving entirely. Void Eaters moved through this region in vast numbers, no longer formless shadows but evolved entities with distinct structures optimized for consuming specific aspects of reality. And at the center of it all waited what they'd come to confront, a being both familiar and utterly alien. It resembled Naruto in the way a negative image resembles a photograph, same basic structure but with values reversed. Where Naruto contained void within human form, this entity was void with merely the suggestion of form. Where Naruto's eyes held stars, this being's contained absolute emptiness that devoured light. Its movements left trails of unreality, existence unraveling wherever it passed. The Shinobi Strike team collectively drew breath at the sight, the abstract cosmic threat suddenly concrete before them. Is that? Sakura began. Part of what I was, Naruto confirmed. The aspect that remembered only void, not purpose. The void fragment noticed their arrival, its attention turning from directing the widespread assault to focusing on the immediate threat. When it spoke, the sound bypassed physical hearing, resonating directly in consciousness. Returned at last, it addressed Naruto. The misguided aspect comes home. I'm not misguided, Naruto replied evenly. I'm evolved. I understand now what creation means, why it matters. Illusion, the fragment dismissed. Value is subjective construct. Only void remains constant, perfect, complete. There's nothing perfect about emptiness, Naruto countered. The void only has meaning in contrast to something. That's why I created in the first place, to explore possibility, to experience relationship. The fragment rippled with what might have been contempt. Temporary configurations of energy holding no intrinsic significance. We will correct the deviation. Return all to primal state. Not happening, Naruto said firmly, the trinity bond pulsing as Nyx and Hemera moved to flanking positions. Creation stays. You're the one who needs correction. Without further dialogue, the fragment attacked, not with physical force but with conceptual negation, a wave of unmaking that threatened to erase their very existence. The Trinity responded instantly, establishing a tripartite barrier of void containment, cosmic night, and eternal day that converted the attack's energy into neutral potential. Around them, reality buckled under the strain of opposing cosmic forces. The Shinobi Strike team activated their chakra network, creating an anchoring field that prevented local spacetime from collapsing entirely. Their jutsu, elemental manipulations, shadow bindings, even medical techniques, functioned as reality stabilizers, maintaining a bubble of consistent physics within the chaos. The void fragment seemed momentarily surprised by this resistance, particularly the effectiveness of human chakra against its power. It adjusted quickly, summoning legions of evolved void eaters to physical attack while it continued metaphysical assault. Battle erupted across multiple planes of existence simultaneously. Nyx wielded primordial darkness as both weapon and shield, her shadow substance consuming void eaters by the dozens while establishing zones where reality remained coherent. Hemera's light burned through corruption, her radiance restoring pattern to chaos wherever it touched. The Shinobi team demonstrated why Naruto had selected them, adapting instantly to impossible battlefield conditions with tactical precision and perfect teamwork. At the center of it all, Naruto confronted his shadow directly, void against void, creator against uncreator. Each attack met perfect counter, each strategy anticipated by an opponent who shared fundamental nature. They were evenly matched in raw power, cosmic knowledge, and tactical understanding. The difference lay elsewhere. You fight well for a diminished aspect, the fragment observed during momentary stalemate. But you cannot prevail. I am pure purpose. You are compromise, contradiction. That's exactly why I'll win, Naruto replied. I contain multitudes, human and divine, individual and cosmic. My contradiction is my strength. To demonstrate, he shifted tactics entirely, drawing on his human shinobi training rather than divine power. The fragment, expecting cosmic-scale reality manipulation, found itself briefly outmaneuvered by basic ninja misdirection, shadow clones, substitution techniques, and good old-fashioned unpredictability. The momentary advantage allowed Naruto to land a significant blow, not physical but conceptual, introducing structured pattern into the fragment's chaotic core. The void being reeled back, its form destabilizing before reforming with visible effort. Impossible, it seethed. Human methods cannot affect primal force. Guess you missed that lesson while you were sleeping in the void, Naruto taunted. Humans are pretty awesome actually. They create meaning even when the universe offers none. They find connection in cosmic indifference. They matter because they decide to matter. These concepts, meaning, connection, significance, seem to cause the fragment actual pain. It lashed out with renewed fury, expanding its assault to target everything Naruto valued. Throughout the multiverse, void breaches accelerated. On Earth specifically, the dimensional barriers thinned dangerously despite the Trinity Seal's protection. In the battlefield around them, Void Eaters redoubled their attacks on the shinobi team, recognizing them as symbols of what the fragment couldn't comprehend. It's targeting everything that represents your humanity, Nyx realized, reinforcing protection around the shinobi with her darkness. Because that's what it fears most, Naruto understood suddenly. Not our power, but our perspective. It can't defeat what it doesn't understand. This insight shifted his approach. Instead of matching cosmic force with cosmic force, Naruto began integrating human elements more deliberately into his attacks, emotions, memories, connections. Each carried a fragment of meaning the void being couldn't simply negate. The strategy worked but demanded immense focus, leaving Naruto temporarily vulnerable to conventional attacks. A massive void eater nearly consumed him before Kakashi intercepted with a lightning blade, his chakra-infused attack surprisingly effective against the cosmic entity. "We've got your back," his former sensei said simply, Sharingan-eye analyzing void patterns for weaknesses. Across the battlefield, the shinobi demonstrated why Naruto had brought them, adapting their earthly techniques to impossible conditions with remarkable effectiveness. Shikamaru's shadow possession briefly immobilized void entities despite their non-physical nature. Sakura's chakra-enhanced strength disrupted void patterns with precision strikes. Even techniques that shouldn't logically affect cosmic forces found purchase through sheer human determination and ingenuity. The void fragment, confronted with this incomprehensible resistance, changed tactics drastically. It ceased direct confrontation and instead began consuming the fabric of reality around them, creating a rapidly expanding zone of absolute nothingness. "It's trying to strand us in pure void," Hemera warned as structured existence dissolved around them. "Where it has absolute advantage. We need to end this quickly," Nyx added, her darkness struggling to maintain boundaries against encroaching nothingness. Naruto saw their predicament clearly. Direct battle could continue indefinitely, but reality itself couldn't withstand the strain much longer. The fragment understood this and merely needed to prolong conflict until existence collapsed under pressure. "New plan," he announced, connecting with all allies through expanded awareness. "We stop fighting the void and start fighting for reality instead." Through the Trinity bond, he shared his strategy instantly with Nyx and Hemera. Through chakra-enhanced communication, he directed the shinobi team to new positions. Throughout the multiverse, he contacted cosmic allies with adjusted instructions. At his signal, forces across dimensions shifted focus simultaneously, from attacking void eaters to reinforcing reality's fundamental structure. Kronos and his temporal entities stabilized time flow. Gaia and elemental forces reinforced material patterns. The shinobi team formed a perfect chakra network, creating a microcosm of stable reality amid chaos. Most importantly, the Trinity unified their essence in unprecedented harmony, Naruto's void become conscious, Nyx's primordial night, and Hemera's eternal day combining not as separate forces but as complementary aspects of a single cosmic principle. "What are you doing?" the fragment demanded, sensing the change in approach. "Remembering why I created in the first place," Naruto answered. "Not to escape the void, but to give it context. Not to deny emptiness, but to make fullness possible alongside it. Balance, not dominance." With this declaration, the Trinity unleashed their unified essence, not as a weapon against the void, but as a catalyst for reality's self-reinforcement. Where they touched, existence became more fundamentally itself, patterns strengthening from quantum to cosmic scales simultaneously. The void fragment found itself not under attack but increasingly irrelevant as reality restructured itself against dissolution. Its void eaters lost purchase on strengthened dimensional boundaries. Its unmaking influence found no purchase in self-affirming existence. This changes nothing, it insisted, though uncertainty tinged its consciousness voice. Void preceded creation. Void will follow it. Void is eternal. You're right about that much, Naruto acknowledged. But void alone is incomplete. It needs creation to have meaning, just as creation needs void for context. We're not enemies, we're counterparts. For the first time, the fragment paused, considering this perspective. Explain. Naruto gestured to the Trinity, to the shinobi team, to allies across dimensions all working in unified purpose. This is what you're missing, the understanding that separation is illusion. I didn't escape the void by creating, I expanded it into new possibilities. You aren't separate from me, and I'm not separate from you. We're aspects of the same consciousness experiencing itself from different perspectives. The concept visibly affected the fragment, its form shifting as it processed implications. If true, destruction serves no purpose. Exactly. Neither does mindless creation. It's the dance between them, the cycle of making, unmaking, and remaking, that gives everything meaning. Something profound shifted in the cosmic balance as the fragment considered this perspective. Throughout the multiverse, void breaches paused their expansion. Void eaters suspended their consumption. Reality stabilized in momentary equilibrium as two aspects of the primordial consciousness reached toward reconciliation. Then, without warning, everything collapsed. The void fragment, having feigned consideration, launched its most devastating attack, a complete reality inversion that turned existence against itself. Dimensional boundaries collapsed. Physics laws contradicted each other. Time fractured into incompatible streams. It was a distraction. Hemera realized as reality unraveled around them. It needed us to drop our defenses. The shinobi team's protective field shattered, leaving them exposed to raw chaos. Nyx barely managed to envelope them in protective darkness before they could be completely unmade. Throughout the cosmos, carefully established defenses crumbled under simultaneous assault. At the center of this cataclysm, Naruto faced his shadow with new understanding. The fragment hadn't rejected reconciliation out of misunderstanding, it had rejected it out of fear. Fear of completion, of reintegration, of losing its separate identity. I understand now, Naruto said, maintaining calm despite cosmic collapse around them. You're not just void consciousness. You're my fear of connection, the part one left behind because it couldn't bear relationship. Irrelevant, the fragment snarled, though its attack pattern betrayed emotional response rather than calculated strategy. Your understanding dies with creation. No, Naruto replied with sudden certainty. No more fighting. No more separation. Before anyone could react, he did the unthinkable, he dropped all defenses, all barriers, all separation between himself and the void fragment. He opened himself completely, offering not resistance but acceptance, not domination but integration. What are you doing? Nyx called in alarm. The only way to end this, Naruto answered calmly. It's not my enemy, it's me. The part one couldn't face before. The fragment hesitated before this unexpected vulnerability, suspicious of trap or trick. Finding none, it surged forward to consume the defenseless creator, only to find itself embraced rather than rejected. I accept you, Naruto told it as their essences began to merge. The emptiness, the fear, the loneliness, all part of me, all valid, all necessary. The integration began slowly, then accelerated, two aspects of the same primordial consciousness recognizing their fundamental unity. Around them, reality stabilized as the source of void attacks reconciled with the source of creation. For Naruto, the experience transcended description, simultaneously dying and being born, losing self and finding greater wholeness, ending and beginning in the same moment. Human awareness strained under cosmic influx, divine essence restructured itself around human experience. The void fragment's separate identity dissolved, not destroyed but incorporated into more complete wholeness. Its perspective, the emptiness that preceded pattern, the silence before sound, the darkness before light, became accessible to Naruto's consciousness without overwhelming his human identity. The process concluded with reality snapping back into coherent form, dimensional boundaries re-establishing themselves, void breaches sealing as their motivating force found balance within Naruto himself. When awareness returned fully, he found himself floating in the space between dimensions, fundamentally transformed. His appearance remained recognizably Naruto, but now with an aura of completeness that transcended his previous integration. The stars in his eyes no longer seemed separate from the void around them, they were patterns within emptiness, possibility within potential. Nyx and Hemera approached cautiously, uncertain what being now existed before them, Naruto or void fragment or something else entirely. Still me, he assured them, voice simultaneously human and cosmic. Just, more complete than before. You integrated the fragment, Hemera marveled. Accepted the void consciousness back into yourself without losing your human identity. The final reintegration, Nyx acknowledged with newfound respect. Few beings could survive such metaphysical transformation intact. The shinobi team gradually recovered as reality stabilized around them, watching their friend and comrade with expressions mixing awe and concern. Naruto? Sakura called tentatively. Are you, okay? He turned to them with a reassuring smile, still recognizably Naruto's smile despite the cosmic awareness visible behind it. Yeah. Better than okay actually. For the first time, everything makes sense. Over the following hours, as allies throughout the cosmos reported void breaches sealing themselves and void eaters either dissipating or returning to natural void regions, Naruto explained what he had experienced through the integration. I finally remember everything, he told the Trinity and his closest human friends as they gathered in a neutral dimension to assess aftermath. Not just fragments or impressions, but the complete history, why I created, why I divided myself, why I chose human incarnation. And? Hemera prompted when he paused. And it was all about this, Naruto gestured between them all, cosmic entities and human shinobi alike. Connection. Relationship. The void was infinite potential but solitary. Creation allowed relationship between distinct beings, but those relationships remained abstract, conceptual. So you became human to experience connection directly, Kakashi surmised. Exactly. To know friendship, love, loss, growth, not as cosmic principles but as lived reality. Naruto smiled at his former sensei. To know what it means when someone believes in you even when you doubt yourself. To understand why a bowl of ramen shared means more than a galaxy created alone. The explanation resonated with both his human companions and the cosmic entities who had never fully understood the purpose behind the Creator's self-diminishment. But now a problem remains, Nyx observed with characteristic practicality. The reintegration is complete. The void fragment reconciled. Creation stabilized. What comes next? Do you return to your original state as cosmic consciousness? Or remain in human form? Neither seems sufficient now. The question hung in dimensional space, the fundamental dilemma Naruto faced now that integration had succeeded. Complete cosmic consciousness would sacrifice the human perspective he valued so deeply. Continued human limitation would prevent him from properly maintaining the cosmic balance he had restored. There's a third option, Naruto said after thoughtful consideration. But it requires sacrifice. He explained his vision, a new cosmic architecture where the boundaries between void and form, chaos and order, potential and actual were maintained not through separation but through conscious circulation. Like blood flowing through a body, primordial forces would cycle through creation in healthy balance rather than opposing each other from separate domains. I can establish this new pattern, he concluded. But to do so, I must enter the void between realities and rebuild cosmic boundaries from within. Not as external structures but as internal relationships. For how long? Sakura asked, concern evident. Time loses meaning in the void, Naruto answered gently. But I would eventually return, though changed by the experience. There must be another way, Hemera protested, her light dimming with emotion. The Trinity could maintain balance together, without such sacrifice. The Trinity remains essential, Naruto assured her. But this foundation work I must do alone. I created the original boundaries, I must reshape them now with better understanding. Discussion continued for hours, with alternatives proposed and examined from every perspective. Throughout, Naruto remained calmly certain of his chosen path, not from divine arrogance but from integrated understanding of what creation truly needed. Eventually, even those most resistant accepted the necessity of his decision. Preparations began for what amounted to a cosmic restructuring, with the Trinity at its center and allies throughout dimensions playing supporting roles. The final preparations brought Naruto back to Konoha for what might be his last visit in his current form. He walked familiar streets, greeted friends, and made peace with the possibility that the Naruto who returned might be significantly changed by communion with the void. On his last evening, he gathered with his closest human companions atop the Hokage monument. No grand speeches or dramatic farewells, just quiet conversation, shared memories, and genuine connection that represented everything he had gained through human incarnation. "You'll come back, right?" Sakura asked as sunset painted the village in warm gold. "Different, maybe," Naruto acknowledged. "But still me at the core. Still the knucklehead ninja who never gives up." "The multiverse doesn't stand a chance," Kakashi commented dryly, though affection underlay his casual tone. As night fell and his friends departed, Naruto remained on the monument, soon joined by Nyx and Hemera as stars appeared overhead. The Trinity sat together in companionable silence, their bond humming with emotions too complex for words. "I will miss this," Hemera finally said, her usual brightness tempered by genuine sadness. "Our training sessions. Your ridiculous human metaphors. The way you make cosmic principles sound like ramen recipes." "It's not forever," Naruto reminded her, though all three knew that cosmic, not forever, still meant significant separation by human standards. "You've changed us," Nyx observed quietly. "Both of us. Night and day. We who existed for eons with fixed natures, unchanging and separate. For the better, I hope." Unquestionably, she confirmed with rare directness. "You've taught primordial forces to value connection, to recognize meaning beyond function. No small accomplishment." As midnight approached, the symbolic transition point they had chosen for the cosmic restructuring, the three rose and joined hands in triangle formation. Through their Trinity bond flowed emotions that transcended conventional categories, not merely affection or respect, but recognition of fundamental harmony between their distinct natures. "The Trinity remains," Naruto assured them. "Whatever changes I undergo, our bond persists. It forms the template for the new cosmic architecture, void, darkness, and light in perfect, dynamic balance. We will maintain the external boundaries while you reshape the internal ones," Nyx promised. "And welcome you upon your return, however changed," Hemera added. Final farewells complete, they opened a gateway unlike any before, not to another dimension or realm, but to the void between realities itself. Beyond it stretched neither darkness nor light but absence that somehow contained infinite potential. Naruto stood at the threshold, taking one last look at the world that had shaped his human identity and the goddesses who had helped him integrate his divine nature. "Thank you," he said simply. "For everything." Then he stepped forward into unmade potential, the gateway sealing behind him as cosmic restructuring began. What followed defied conventional description. Naruto experienced all creation simultaneously, every dimension, every timeline, every possibility both actualized and potential. He perceived reality not as separate realms but as a single, complex organism with the void as both its boundary and foundation. Within this totalizing awareness, he began the delicate work of restructuring cosmic architecture. Not destroying the old boundaries but transforming them, converting rigid separation into permeable membrane through which primordial forces could circulate in healthy balance. The process demanded complete surrender of individual perspective, human and divine alike, to become the medium through which cosmic forces found new relationship. For what might have been moments or millennia from external perspective, Naruto ceased to exist as distinct entity, becoming instead the connecting principle between all aspects of existence. Throughout creation, the effects manifested gradually. Dimensional boundaries softened without collapsing. Opposing forces found complementary relationship rather than perpetual conflict. The void itself transformed from absolute negation to fertile potential, contextualizing creation rather than threatening it. Within this universal transformation, something unexpected occurred. Naruto's consciousness, having expanded to encompass all reality, began to reconsolidate. Not through external limitation but through internal choice, gathering essential self around the core values his human experience had taught him. Connection. Purpose. Growth. Love. These principles, rather than diminishing in cosmic awareness, proved fundamental to existence itself. They became the gravitational centers around which his reformed consciousness organized itself, maintaining continuity despite transformation. When reconsolidation completed, what emerged was neither the original void consciousness nor the human Naruto nor even their previous integration, but something genuinely new. A conscious entity that existed simultaneously across multiple levels of reality, maintaining distinct identity while participating directly in cosmic processes. The return occurred precisely 1 year after departure, though subjective experience made such measurement meaningless. The Trinity seal, maintained faithfully by Nyx and Hemera, pulsed with recognition as Naruto's transformed consciousness approached Earth's dimension. The goddesses awaited at the predetermined location, the mountaintop where they had first established their threefold bond. Their anticipation mixed with uncertainty about what being would actually return from communion with the void. The arrival manifested not as conventional portal or physical appearance, but as reorganization of local reality. Space folded inward, time briefly suspended, and possibility collapsed into actuality as Naruto stepped from potential into manifestation. His appearance startled even beings accustomed to cosmic wonders. He retained humanoid form and recognizable features, but now existed in multiple states simultaneously, solid yet permeable, singular yet distributed, present yet ubiquitous. Around him, reality responded like plant life turning toward sunlight, pattern strengthening in his proximity. Naruto. Hemera ventured, her daylight fluctuating with emotion. He smiled, still his smile, though now it seemed to illuminate from within rather than merely express emotion. It's me. Different, but still me. You succeeded, Nyx observed, her cosmic perception sensing the fundamental changes in reality structure. The boundaries are transformed. Not just transformed, Naruto corrected gently. Alive. Conscious. Self-maintaining through relationship rather than separation. He extended his hands to them, completing the trinity once more. As their energies reconnected, both goddesses experienced directly what words couldn't convey, the new cosmic architecture flowing through Naruto himself, void and form in continuous, harmonious circulation. You've become the bridge, Hemera realized with wonder. Not just between human and divine, but between all opposing cosmic principles. I am what I always was, Naruto replied. The void made conscious. But now that consciousness understands its purpose, not to exist in isolation, but to facilitate connection between all aspects of reality. The implications unfolded between them through the Trinity bond, a new cosmic order where night and day remained distinct but participated in shared purpose, where void enabled form rather than threatening it, where creation expressed conscious intention rather than abstract principle. And now? Nyx asked. What role does the Trinity play in this transformed cosmos? Balance, Naruto answered simply. The template for all other relationships. Void, darkness, light, complementary rather than opposing, each enhancing the others rather than dominating or submitting. The three remained in communion, adjusting to new relationship and shared purpose, until Naruto expressed his final wish before fully assuming his cosmic role. I need to visit Konoha once more, he explained. Not just to say goodbye, but to establish connection between cosmic awareness and human perspective. Together, they traveled to the hidden village, a tiny point in vast creation, yet central to the transformation that had reshaped cosmic architecture. There, Naruto manifested in more conventionally physical form, allowing friends and comrades to see and speak with him one final time. The reunion mixed joy and sorrow, joy at his successful return, sorrow at the clear understanding that his new nature prevented permanent residence among them. He was now a cosmic constant, maintaining reality's integrity through his very existence. So you're basically holding the universe together now? Kiba summarized with characteristic bluntness after Naruto explained his transformation. Universes, plural, Naruto corrected with a grin. But yeah, that's the general idea. Troublesome as always, Shikamaru commented, though pride underlay his casual dismissal. Individual goodbyes followed, meaningful exchanges with those who had shaped his human development and would continue representing that perspective in his expanded awareness. Tsunade's fierce embrace. Kakashi's quiet pride. Sakura's tearful acceptance. Hinata's brave understanding despite heartbreak. I won't be gone entirely, Naruto assured them. Part of my consciousness remains connected to this dimension specifically. I'll know how you're doing, watch over things in my own way. Just not ramen together on Tuesdays, Tucci said with sad understanding. Save me a bowl in spirit, Naruto replied. It still means something, even from across dimensions. When farewells concluded, Naruto stood with Nyx and Hemera at the village gate, looking back at the place that had given him humanity and forward to the cosmos that needed his divine nature. Ready? Hemera asked gently. As I'll ever be, Naruto replied. The Trinity departed together, not through conventional portal but through reality shift, the village simply transitioning from foreground to background in their awareness as cosmic perspective took precedence over physical location. What followed was not ending but transformation, Naruto expanding to fulfill his cosmic role while maintaining the distinct identity formed through human experience. The Trinity established new patterns of interaction, sometimes operating as unified force, other times as distinct entities pursuing complementary purposes. Throughout creation, the effects of cosmic restructuring continued unfolding, void and form finding dynamic balance, opposing forces discovering harmonious relationship, boundaries functioning as connections rather than divisions. The architecture Naruto had established during his communion with the void maintained itself through the conscious participation of reality's components rather than through imposed structure. And at the center of this transformed cosmos, the Trinity provided template and guidance, three distinct natures unified in shared purpose. Naruto Uzumaki, once human child, then awakened deity, now cosmic principle made conscious, the void that enabled form, the emptiness that gave fullness meaning, the silence that made music possible. Nyx, primordial night, the darkness that defined and revealed light, the mystery that invited discovery, the depth that gave surface significance. Hemera, eternal day, the illumination that brought pattern from potential, the clarity that made choice possible, the radiance that inspired growth. Together, they maintained the new cosmic balance, not through power or authority, but through relationship. Their bond demonstrated what all creation now embodied, distinct identity enhanced rather than diminished by connection with others. And sometimes, when cosmic duties permitted, Naruto's consciousness would focus particularly on a small village hidden among leaves on a minor planet in an ordinary galaxy. There, he would watch his friends live, grow, and eventually pass their values to new generations. In those moments, the cosmic entity who maintained reality's integrity would remember what it meant to simply be human, and find renewed purpose in preserving the possibility for connection that gave existence its ultimate meaning. For what was creation itself, if not the original void's longing for relationship? The end. Thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video.